This is Matt Brown, host of Just a Good Conversation. I found an old soul who loves to shoot film on YouTube. Nick Carver is this person. This young and up-and-coming photographer has a following on YouTube and a presence on Instagram worth a look at. Please take a moment and look over his website at nickcarverphotography.com. His day job is photographing buildings. His passion is making photos with cameras older than him. We sit down and talk about early career mistakes, building a business from the bottom, and having zero idea what an audience might want to watch on YouTube.
Perfect example. The one I most recently posted, which is taking pictures in Fullerton.
Yes.
So I did Donut Shop.
Uh-huh.
And, I finished that video and I posted it, and I was basically depressed the first few hours after I posted. I was telling my wife, I'm like, it sucks. I hate it. It's terrible. People are going to hate it. And it was a waste of time. That one actually has the highest rate of up votes to down votes of any of my videos. So evidently, I have a horrible gauge of what people are going to like.
At damn.
Yeah, I can't. So I have to just remember that I don't know, and then just put out what I think is good in the moment, and then people will decide.
I'm Matt Brown, host of Just a Good Conversation. Take a listen to our archives. We've had such guests as award winners of the Silver Star, Emmy winners, and former VP at Kodak, Richard Maxson.
I had one of the first 182.8s in the city, which, by the way, that was the long lens.
Yes, that was it.
That was it.
But that was a beautiful, unbelievable lens.
Oh,
tack sharp.
Great lens, but imagine shooting baseball at Dodger Stadium with that.
Yeah, old Dodger Stadium.
Old
you were
Dodger.
far back.
Yeah, you used to rack that enlarger way up.
Yeah.
Plus, you were shooting at ISO beyond the ISO.
Right.
Yeah. So, and Angel Stadium was the same way. Angel Stadium was closer, but the light wasn't as good.
Right.
And it was interesting. Dodgers had the best light in town. They had the first Sylvania Stadium lights. Anaheim was tungsten. The Coliseum was a mix of the two.
Right.
Depending on where you were on the field, you either shot tungsten film or daylight film.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was fun.
Go to justagoodconversation.com for all our archives. Let's take a quick break for our sponsor before diving into our conversation with Nick Carver. Nick, thanks for stopping by.
It's my pleasure.
This is going to be really fun. I promise it will be nothing like a dentist appointment.
That's good. My last dentist appointment, I think I had my wisdom teeth taken out, so I don't want to do that again.
You will not leave here numb or with any cotton swabs in your mouth, I promise.
Hopefully no cotton swabs anywhere else either.
Yeah. I wanted you to have you on the podcast because I stumbled upon you several years ago when you had a video about Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
I love going there with the boys, my 3 kids, and I saw this young man out there shooting trees in the desert. It's like, I like that guy. I like the cut of his jib, and I think I'm going to have him on my podcast.
Well, I'm glad you found the video. I'm glad the video had that effect on you.
You got 1 click from me off of that thing. So
I got half of 1 penny in terms of ad
taxes.
revenue. Yeah, before taxes. That's true. So it's like, I don't know, 0.3 pennies, something like that.
I'll need to watch it 16 more times for you to get up to at least a good cent.
Exactly.
And I need to click your ads on there as well.
Yeah, just click them and leave. It's fine.
That's it. Just put it on a loop and just help you out. Got to feed the man.
I think YouTube's about to cancel my account if they hear this.
You and everybody else. It's all right.
It's true.
So I'm glad you were able to find the time because I really wanted to have you. And I found, and we talked about this earlier, like this old soul photographer that you don't really see much in photography. And that's actually kind of nice to see.
Well, thank you.
A man who shoots film properly with real cameras.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I like to think I do it properly. But, film's been something else for me.
How did you find film? Or was it around your house?
Well, actually, I started on film. No one in my family's a photographer or anything.
No, not at all? Instamatics, nothing?
Not
so
really.
There's no pictures of young Nick at all?
Well, there's pictures. But,
okay.
We had like maybe a little Polaroid one step, the 81s.
That would be horrible if there's only just one school photo of you every year. That's the only
that'd
picture.
That'd be all right.
Those awkward phases. Come on, the pudginess, the bad hair.
Well, I didn't hit puberty until about 5 years ago, so.
Well, it's working. It fits you.
There'll be a picture of me 17 years old and I look like I'm 10. So we don't need more pictures of me. But there are no photographers in the family, but my family's very artistically inclined. My dad's an incredible musician. He was heading off to record at Capitol Records when he was like 13 or something like that.
Wow, what does he play?
Guitar mostly. That's what he was doing then.
Okay.
But
acoustic, electric, or
both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah, he hasn't played in
bass
a long time.
Or
no bass. Banjo.
Banjo.
Banjo. Yeah, he got very good at banjo. Yeah, but
that's supposed to be the toughest one, right?
Yeah, he's difficult, and he got very good at it. Much to my, my mom's dismay. Banjo's not that fun to be around.
Well, is it a part-time job like at Knott's or something? Or
no,
okay.
just for fun.
Just for fun. That must have been okay.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's all very impressive, and especially I don't have an ounce of musical ability in my body, so seeing it is pretty cool. But
you appreciate it from afar.
Definitely appreciate it. My brother's an incredible musician too. He got that from my dad, obviously.
So he got that gene.
Mm-hmm. He actually made the music for my videos.
Oh.
Yeah, so that kind of slide steely, deep south kind of guitar, that's all him.
Well, that's good. That's easy on the copyright.
Oh man, I'm so lucky. Yeah, because he gives that to me for free. He doesn't charge me a nickel, and I think it's some of the best music ever. I think he's one of the best musicians. He just doesn't.
Does he do it professionally?
No, he's actually a video editor professionally.
Okay.
Yeah, but music's kind of a hobby for him, and I'm always getting on him to do it more because I think
absolutely
his music's so good. I want more people to hear it. I mean, I'll visit him. He'll pull out an acoustic guitar, and he's just dicking around, like just doing stuff that he thinks is almost funny, like it's so easy.
Right,
and
I'm
like, oh my god, the world needs to hear this. Like, this is important music. Like, but he just doesn't. He's like, I'm just dicking around.
Yeah, I just found my fingers here. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, and I think
that drives you nuts. Come on, talent, show it.
Yeah, I want him to share it. My wife feels the same way about him. It's like you need to put some stuff out there. Like, people need to see this, but he's just not interested. I think it's for his own enjoyment more than anything.
Well, at least he gave you the gift of the title.
Majorly, yeah. And he last Christmas we do a Secret Santa thing in our family, and he got me, unbeknownst to me. But I said, if Blake, if you get me, I just want new music for my videos. Like, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you are my Secret Santa, I just want new music. And
60-second bumper. That's all I need.
That's all I was expecting. He came through. He gave me like 8 tracks, like a minute and a half long on some of them. Some of them are just stings, but it's like really incredible music, like multi-layered. It's got like, shakers and slide steels and all this kind of stuff. It's incredible, and I've been slowly rolling them out in my videos, and I got him a couple of songs out in the most recent ones, but I really put him on the spot with that, and then he came out, and he came through. So he's a good brother.
Well, that's nice of him.
Yeah, very much so.
You got that little ace in your pocket there, your old musical band waiting for you.
I know. I always got that to fall back on. And my other brother's a coder, and I build my own website and everything, so he's come in handy at numerous times, me trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing with CSS and HTML and all that kind of stuff. So I got good contacts
here?
Yeah. Why is my website broken? Can you look at it?
Where do we start?
So I think maybe it's a asymmetrical relationship with how much they're helping me out, but
at least you could take some nice photos of them.
Yeah, I took my brother's engagement photos. I did a kind of photo booth style thing. Shot it on black and white film with the RZ67 and everything, because I had to make it more difficult for me. Yeah, but they came out great and they liked them. So
if you're like, I'm trying something with the iPhone, I'd be truly disappointed.
It's like, why did we not hire you to do this?
You're no good to us. So you found this love very early on.
Yeah, I was in middle school, so it was around age, I don't even know what age 7th grade is, but what's that, 13, something like that.
Was it an elective class?
Yeah, it was an elective class in my middle school. I went to middle school in Irvine here, and Sierra Vista Middle School.
What made you check that box? What made you see photography and go, wood shop, photography?
My friend forced me into it. Oh. Yeah. So I've thanked him since. Mike Flynn, he's a great guy.
Thanks,
and
Mike.
I've paid him back with a couple of photo shoots, so hopefully I think I still owe him. But it was an interesting class. It was an elective class that was just called technology.
Okay.
And so you had the class for, I think, a trimester. So I don't know, that's 2 months or 3 months or whatever. And within that time period, you would do like 2 weeks of a topic. And it was like wood shop, robotics, engineering, photography it was a really cool class.
Only in Irvine.
Only in Irvine, but then it was gone 2 years later, unfortunately. I think the teacher moved on. I tried to find the teacher. His name's Mr. Tucker. He had a southern drawl kind of. I think he was from, I don't know, Kentucky or something. But one of the modules in that class, one of the 2 week periods you could do was photography. And my friend Mike really wanted to do it because his brother had done it and really liked it. And I thought it sounded just so boring. Of all the things I wanted to do in that class, that was nowhere near the top. I wanted to do wood shop.
Sure.
I want to do robotics, all this kind of like working with your hands
Things
type
that
stuff.
were dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to cut off a finger, at least.
Right, like Mr. Tucker, who only can count to 8.
So photography just didn't seem tactile enough, I guess.
Okay.
But I didn't know anything about the darkroom process, so I didn't realize how tactile it would be.
Yes.
And how, like with wood shop, you got measuring and geometry and all that kind of stuff. And I've always really liked math and geometry, and robotics, similar thing. I didn't know that photography had any of that. So, with chemistry and the timing and, exposure and all that kind of stuff, I didn't know about any of that. So I was picturing photography as being kind of boring, like just going around taking pictures.
Right.
And then you get them developed at Long's Drugs at the time.
Right.
But it was a darkroom class, so we, learned how to load the 35 millimeter film into the tanks, and we did the enlarger, and we did prints and watched them all materialize and stuff like that. And then at that point, I was hooked. So it kind of had a nice combination of tactile, a little bit of math, and then the artistry side of it. So I'm really glad he forced me into it.
Right, because I believe that's where kids get hooked, is the dark room.
Absolutely.
It's where you can run around and click all day long, but now you get to actually create, dodge and burn, see it comes out of the, out of the fixer, move it out. That's where the love starts.
Yeah.
It's sticky, messy, ugly, but it's where it's at. I think now if you give someone a digital camera, it's just too easy. You're just flicking filters, and it becomes like, I'm done in 15 minutes. Now what do we do?
Plus, too, I think with digital, it's of course more complicated to make a digital camera, and the whole concept of turning light into ones and zeros, that's obviously way more complicated. But I feel like we're so surrounded by electronics that it has lost its mystere, I guess, or its mystery. Like, it's like you turn on the TV, it just turns on. You don't think about how they had to make it, or how the signal's getting there or anything. Yeah, because it's all, everything's just like, it just works. That's just how it works. But I feel like with traditional analog photography, like the fact that light can affect a chemical or a compound on a piece of plastic, and that compound doesn't look like anything until you put it into this chemical, which then turns it into something else. Like, that's so much more. And then you put
that onto paper.
Yeah, and then that process is kind of reversed when you put it onto the paper. It's like the whole thing is very interesting and mysterious, because you're actually seeing how it's happening, and it's all very, analog is the obvious word, but it's all very there, and it's in your face, and it's tactile, and you can understand it, and it's all very something you can wrap your mind around. It's not at that level of like an iPhone or a digital camera, where it's like you start talking about the intricacies of pixel size and all this kind of stuff. Like, eventually people start tuning it out, because it's just like, oh, that's for the engineers to figure out. Right. And it doesn't matter, the camera works. But that makes it kind of boring, because you're not really engaged in the process. You just had this magical device come down from the heavens called a Sony A7R3 or whatever. Right.
Name the name.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this thing's incredible and it works great. And it's like, that's really exciting for a short time, but it gets so boring so fast.
So boring.
Yeah, and it's like, I think every photographer who sticks with it long enough, they reach a point where it's like, they start off so excited about specs and the new camera and the latest camera, what they can do with it even, and they got the artistry involved and everything. It's not all technical stuff, but a lot of it is hinging on this incredible new sensor. And look at the dynamic range, look at the shadows I can pull and all this kind of stuff. And that's really fun, but it just gets so old, because you find the limits of the equipment. Right. And then now you need new limits. And they got to come out with a new one. Now you're waiting for them to come out with the next one. But if with analog photography, like, the technology is already as good as it can be, and it's not depending on an engineer coming up with new stuff, or a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, or Sony or Canon, or all these kind of out there entities that we never actually connect with.
Right.
We're not waiting for them to bestow us with this new thing that's going to make our art better.
Right.
Like, we already have all the tools. They're right there. And you can pick and choose the tools you want. You want to do large format for the high resolution, cool. If you want to do something compact, get yourself a little Contax or something, Like, we have these options. They're already there. And we can understand it, and we're not waiting for the next mega corporation to give us what we need for our artistry.
Right.
I think that attracts some people.
Yeah, because you can only wait so long for the next raw capture to be, composed, given to us by Adobe. Like, it's all done and ready to go. The same film you're shooting today has been shot 20 years ago and 40 years before that. I'm watching you use cameras that I owned, the Mamiya 645 or the RZ, the 4x5s. I've had my hands on those. I mean, those things haven't changed, and they still make beautiful images. And you're guaranteed to know this Tri-X or this, you name it, film is going to do this under this light.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
End of story.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait for a sensor to get any better, match it up with the lens because I got a DX and it's not full frame. It's like, oh, Jesus, come on.
Right. You got to make sure your computer's up to date because the raw files won't be readable.
Right.
All that kind of stuff.
I can't open it up, or it's too slow, or I can only look at one photo at a time.
Yeah.
Or is my screen monitored to my caliber on the back of my camera? It's
it's like it could be so much simpler. Just have this nice mechanical camera. Whatever film you put in the back is going to control much of it. The lenses are already built for it. It's like it's nice and clean and simple and just easy to go. The people always point out the cost of digital being so much less, but I'm not super convinced on that because people who are real deep in the digital world end up getting a new camera every 18 months or something. Right. It's like $3,500 camera. You've now just added...
cheap. Nikon's new D6 is $6,500.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So, I mean, with the rate people end up buying the digital camera because they feel that need to get the latest sensor and everything, I think, spread out over the years that you own the life of the camera, I'm not even sure it's cheaper. It is for some people, but you got to hold on to the camera for quite a while.
How long have you had, I know we're jumping ahead, but this is perfect to the point. How long have you had that Mamiya 645?
The 645, the Pro TL, I've had that. That's actually one of my more recent purchases. I think I've had that maybe a couple years now.
Okay, because
the RZ I've probably had for 6 maybe.
I had that almost 20 years ago. I'm guessing. Like when it was new.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what it cost. I just remembered I needed it because it was the size of the magazine format. 645 was front cover of either SI or ESPN or whatever. It was the format. It was perfect. If I went Hasselblad, I always had to worry about watching the sides because they were going to have to crop in or what they were going to do.
Yeah.
The cost if I kept that thing, it would be absolutely dirt cheap.
Yeah.
But if I bought a digital camera 10 years ago, I cannot still use that at the highest end professional level. Yeah. There's no way you're going to the Olympics on a D3.
Exactly.
First of all, the sensor's burned out.
Yeah.
The highlights are gone. The blacks are kind of in this purplish blue stage.
Yeah.
And nothing's
dead
sharp.
Pixels all over the place.
Dead pixels all over the place.
Yeah.
That 645, if you treat it well, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an original 5D that I made work as a professional camera for. God, I think I had that like 8 years, 10 years, something crazy. And I was pushing it way further than I should have.
Right.
And then I got a 6D Mark II or some dinky little camera for a while. And then eventually replaced it with a 5D Mark IV. And it's like, I hate the e-waste that's creating. That's a big concern for me. But also it's just like, okay, so I just got to plan every 2.5 years. I got to drop $4,000.
Right.
It's like... But my RZ, as long as it doesn't break down and I can find someone to repair it when it does,
sure,
we'll keep going. I mean, it's going to be a lot harder to use and it's going to be slower and I probably won't be able to take as many pictures. And, I'm the first to admit that my professional work right now would not be possible on film because the type of clients I shoot for, they require quick turnaround, they require too many pictures, and it would be too slow to do it.
Right.
But for personal work, it's just... There's so many benefits to the film approach that outweigh the cost that I don't think I'll ever go back to, shooting exclusively digital again.
No.
Yeah.
Don't. please.
I think you're safe on that, because I've had many moments where I'm like, what if this whole film resurgence is just another fad and that goes away? And I think about it, I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm going to keep shooting it.
I'm going to buy a lot then. I'll pour it up.
I'll have to offset all the people not buying film anymore. I'll have to buy 5 times as much. But yeah.
So how does young Nick then, from this 7th grade, keep this photo love affair going?
I mean, I fell in love with it kind of right away. And
that's what happens with young boys. They just find it and boom.
I also did that with about every other girl in middle school too. So
right. But you kept this one. That's good.
That's the only one I kept. Exactly. But my parents are awesome and super supportive, and they always have been. So for a graduation gift for 8th grade, which it's funny there was even a graduation gift for 8th grade, but it's more an excuse to help support their kids.
Sure,
and
right.
But they took me to a pawn shop, and I got this Minolta XGM with a 50mm lens. And
what pawn shop?
God, I don't remember. I want to say it was in Fountain Valley or something, because that's where my dad works.
It's funny, like thinking about what pawn shop you could have gone to. That's your camera selection.
Yeah.
Like if they sent you, right?
That was extensive.
If you go to the one in San Clemente or Santa Ana, you might have gotten something hot that just fell off the truck, wink, wink. And you're like, whoa, got this sweet Nikon F3.
I think it was above the boards. I want to say I'm gonna stick with that.
Yeah. I mean,
most XGMs weren't exactly hot ticket items, but so.
But that's how that's the interesting thing, is like that's how your first camera comes about, is location.
Yeah, it's all proximity.
Yeah,
it's like if I don't know, if it was Fountain Valley and it's like we went there because my dad works there, it's like, okay, I guess I'm getting an XGM.
Yeah.
It's like he knows of a pawn shop. I'm too young to go drive around to a bunch myself.
Right.
There's no eBay or online or anything like that.
I'm guessing it was your first pawn shop trip, too.
Yeah, I'd never been to a pawn shop. I didn't know what a pawn shop was.
Yeah,
I thought it was a place that sold cameras. I didn't realize someone probably sold this camera because their life was in shambles and they needed they needed $20 because of their gambling habit or something. And now I got their camera. Sweet. I got it for $50. Awesome.
Great deal.
Your loss is my gain.
Yeah.
It was a different world.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the guy doesn't divorce his wife and you get the camera, you end up, traveling all over Orange County looking for decent gear.
I need people's lives to fall apart and crumble so I can snatch up their analog gear. I need more of that now.
So if you're listening to this and you think your life's going in the wrong turn, just reach out to Nick at nickwilltakeyourgear.com.
Yeah, if you got like a Fuji GX 617 out there and you're getting a little suspicious of your wife, just let's speed this up so I can take that off your hands for you.
Let's jump it right ahead, right? We're doing you a favor.
Yeah, you got alimony to pay soon.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Let me get that GX.
So now you got this sweet little camera in your hand.
Yeah.
You just off like a bunny rabbit, taking whatever you can?
Yeah, pretty much. Started with print film because it was easier.
Sure.
So just shooting, I don't know, it's Kodak Gold or something like that. And
whatever was in the grocery store?
Yeah, exactly. And
because you're not hanging out at, Pro Photo at this point.
Not yet.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Yeah.
Coming in to buy more film.
Yeah, that was around the corner. It wasn't too far away. But yeah, it was just, I didn't.
Now, if your dad had taken you there, then the addiction really would have started.
Yeah, exactly. I think pawn shops might be a little cheaper, but
right, exactly.
Nothing against Pro Photo, but
but at the time,
yeah, but they would actually know what they had.
Sure.
But yeah, I was just shooting print film, and I was too young to drive anywhere or go off on my own, really. So I just took pictures of my parents' backyard and kind of cut my teeth on things back there. And I shot what was available, which is mostly flowers. And my parents had a pond in the backyard, which is really cool, a koi pond. So, we get dragonflies and stuff. So I just kind of practiced on that, photograph, whatever little figurines I had and everything. And then eventually someone at a camera store told me about E6, slide film, and
there's this magical
film that isn't a negative. You can actually look at it, and it's a positive image. So they sold me some expired. They had back then. They would have a basket of expired film.
Yes, I remember
by the register.
That, yeah.
They'd be like, oh yeah, these are 70% off or something like that because they're expired. Yeah. Color's still fine, which is true. They're not that expired.
Right.
But
it just says on the box.
It just says on the box.
Yeah,
it's expired.
June 92.
And I'm sure half of those dates are just to encourage buying it and using it. But so they sold me a roll of I'm pretty sure it's Velvia 50, and
wow.
Yeah, when
it's a big step up.
Big step. It could have been Provia actually.
Either
Yeah,
way.
that does seem a little insane to give give like a 14-year-old who's
Right.
6 months into it. Velvia 50.
Mouthful of braces
Good luck,
and
kid.
pimples. Good luck, kid.
Try to shoot in sunlight.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Do not shoot this after the sun goes down, young man.
You would be sorely disappointed. If all your pictures are coming out blue, get out of the shade.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. You're starting to learn about, color.
Oh yeah, it's like, there's not someone controlling the color for me. I mean, I didn't even know that on print film. I didn't know someone was at a lab
Right.
looking at it and adjusting, more magenta,
Helping
more
little
yellow,
Nick
whatever.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Sonny.
Yeah.
You need more magenta.
Must be a beginner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wearing out my keys on the keyboard here.
Goddamn little Nick.
What's crazy is how late in my career I actually learned that someone was sitting there and
Right.
actually making adjustments. One of the things that tipped me off to it is that movie 1 Hour Photo.
No.
Yeah.
With Robin Williams?
Yeah,
That
Ron
one,
Williams.
yes.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he was
I-
actually sitting there making adjustments. I'm like, do they do that? Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't taking pictures of anything I'd be worried about, but I'm like, that's weird. Someone's looking at all my photos.
Just a slight side note. Is there anybody listening to this podcast that wants to make a movie about a photographer? Can they at least make him this not a psycho killer?
Do they all have to be scary and weird?
I loved that movie, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh God.
Yeah, he was
Robin-
terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, creepy and terrifying.
Yeah. How about just a nice photographer that saves somebody, donates a kidney, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like The Notebook, but with a photographer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Not that I've seen The Notebook.
But still.
Not that I've seen The Notebook a half a dozen times. So he turned me on to E6. I tried that roll of Provia or Velvia or whatever it was, and I think anyone who's tried slide film for the first time and remembers it can relate to the immediate addiction.
Oh.
It's like to see the colors so
Yeah.
rich. I mean, it's almost like you've never seen anything like it before.
You've never seen a red like that before.
Yeah, you've never seen it backlit like that. You've never seen it so rich and so bright. And one of the frustrating things about E6 is you can never get that to translate to a print or to
Afterwards, no.
a screen because it needs that backlit look.
Yep.
And you need to be looking at the original. But I kind of got hooked on that right away. So I pretty quickly migrated to shooting all reversal film. And then, by nature of shooting that film, I started to gravitate towards other photographers who shoot that way.
Okay.
So at the time, it was Galen Rowell, Franz Lanting, all the National Geographic guys, that at that time were all doing Velvia or Provia
Right.
most
Now,
of the
were
time.
you peeking at National Geographic going,
Yeah.
interesting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was more...
Did it come to the house? Were you guys subscribers or just library, wherever you could find it?
wherever I could find them. I mean, I think my brother had a subscription, so I'd
Okay.
look at it sometimes, but I was more looking at...
That's dangerous, too, because that really gets you fired up when you start looking at National Geographic.
Especially like Galen Rowell's work and the places that he would shoot and everything. And, I'm living in Irvine. I mean, just beige jungle.
Right.
And I'm feeling like, how the hell am I going to take photos?
Right. Can someone just get me to Africa?
Yeah, just get me anywhere other than here. But the main one is I would look through Outdoor Photographer magazine, which isn't around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one I subscribed to, and
Another one.
another one bites the dust.
You can turn into a pity party in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so that one went the way of the dodo. But that was a big influence for me because they would, they would actually put the film used and the type of camera used and all that kind of stuff. And that was real helpful in the beginning.
Yeah, that was like original metadata.
Yeah. Funny side note on that. I remember in the transition to digital, they were so used to putting the camera in the film that they kind of didn't know what to do now that there's no film. So there was a brief time period where they were putting the memory card brand, which is the funniest thing ever,
right.
as if that has
Yeah.
any impact on the
Yeah.
photo. But it'd say
SunDisk, so much better than that. Yeah.
like
Hoodman.
Canon Rebel 1/50th of a second at f/16, Lexar, at that time 256 megabytes.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think anyone cares what memory card was used, but they were so used to doing film that they didn't know what to
They
do.
didn't know
with
what
it.
to do with themselves.
Yeah. So I went very much the route of kind of the high saturation landscapey type stuff, and stuck with that for a real long time. And then digital came along eventually. I swore off that I was never ever going to do it. I remember distinctly telling my uncles, they were like, I was backpacking with them. They're like, when did you think about getting a digital camera? I'm like, never. No way. I'm a real photographer.
Yeah. How
And,
dare you?
Yeah. And fast forward 18 months, I had my first digital camera, and I was my film camera was collecting dust on the shelf, and it was, it was sad to part with it, but I was bitten by the snake of easy pictures. So,
It'll get you.
oh, it'll get you. It
Damn
gets
it.
everybody.
Yeah. I don't care how much you hide.
Yeah.
It comes calling.
It'll find you.
Yeah.
That Canon, or these days Sony, is going to find you.
Yeah, exactly. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Mirrorless.
Yeah, mirrorless too.
Mirrorless. Run, Nick, run.
I'm so old, mirrorless still feels like a new technology to me.
Yeah.
Been in this so long.
So, okay, so then where's that next step? Are you shooting through high school like a crazy man? Yearbook, taking up any course
Yeah.
you can?
I was on the school paper.
That's mandatory if you have a camera. Really, it is.
Yeah, it's a brief time. I mean, if I could go back, I would tell myself, do not do that. You are not the right personality type for doing photojournalism. Because,
Well, it is high school. I don't know if I
it's
classify.
not really photojournalism.
You weren't doing investigational pieces on ASI students.
I wasn't ready for the pressure
Right.
of a photojournalistic
Yeah.
career at that point.
I don't see you, Mike Wallace, stepping into a class. Like, what do we have going on here?
These pictures are garbage, Carver.
Right. Yeah. You call yourself a photographer.
Like, not really yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I would have to go take pictures of other students when they were doing a story on them, and I was just paralyzingly shy in high school, especially in high school, but middle school and high school, and so just to go ask someone, "Can I take your picture?" I would have rather had my teeth pulled out. It was so
Just pliers.
Yeah, and especially if it was a girl, because I don't know how to talk to girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm asking to take their picture, they're going to think I'm a creep. So I just couldn't do it. So I kind of failed miserably at that.
Well, that's very natural. It's first of all, as without a camera, it's difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're like, hi.
Yeah, I know.
I
And
want to pose you. You go, what?
now someone suave would say they have an excuse now to talk to the
Yes,
girls. They would use that as a
absolutely.
jumping off
Yes.
point. But
if you'd only knew.
yeah.
Now.
Not old Nick Carver. That's
Yeah.
not my approach. Yeah.
If you just tell him, Sonny, fish in a barrel.
Yeah, so it didn't work out well for me. So
But you still had your camera.
I still have my camera.
Okay.
At that point, I had gotten a digital camera, a little Minolta Dimage.
I think that one slipped by me.
Rightfully so. They were pretty horrible cameras. It was.
The name sounds like it should be like on a Chrysler,
Oh, I'm sure they did market research to find out. It sounds like a drug name.
Yeah.
People like images, so we'll put it in the name, Dimage.
Dimage. I got to look that up.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous camera. It was, I think, 5 megapixels, which at the time was like, oh my god, what am I going to do with all these megapixels?
I don't know if I have a card big enough.
And this was before DSLRs were really affordable, so it had a built-in lens, and it was. It ran off of AA batteries that died in, no joke, probably 20 minutes.
AA batteries?
Yeah, 4 AA batteries. And it was becoming such a problem that I went out and bought this battery belt pack that could hook into it and was wired. And the battery belt pack it was all before lithium, so it was like NiCad. And this thing weighed like 10 pounds, and it's on my belt, and it's pulling my pants down, which already don't sit very well because I weigh 98 pounds. And I was walking
with the battery pack.
Yeah, with the battery. Yeah, exactly. Back out the 10 pounds, and that's how much I weigh. So I was using that for the school newspaper and stuff like that, and I was
Oh my
still.
God.
Yeah.
No wonder nobody would want to take your picture with you. It's like you just.
What are you talking about, dude? I look so cool with my battery pack on my belt with the cable going to my stupid
Which
little
one was
camera.
bigger, the battery pack or the camera? That thing sounds like.
Honestly, I think the battery pack was. It was ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And it was in a little fabric
Of course it was.
encasement, so it can go on my belt and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is NiCad. It was basically like a motorcycle battery, if you've ever seen those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty big. So
With a big sign on it says, do not put a knife in it. Do not let children
Keep
play
away
with
from
it.
open flame.
Yeah, children.
Yeah.
And a child has it. Yes,
technically, a child has it right now, but keep it away from other children.
God, that sounds like fun.
Just experience. I don't know about fun, but so I was kind of trying to find my feet at what I wanted to take pictures of, or what I was good at taking pictures of. And I mean, probably only within the past 10 years have I really made peace with what my personality type jives with in terms of types of pictures. And
Okay.
I've definitely found it now, but in the beginning, you're trying so hard to find who you are as a photographer that you're doing what everyone else does. And it's like, well, people take pictures of people, and people take pictures of, events in their life and all this kind of stuff. And I just never had any interest in that. And I was so bad at it because my personality type doesn't mix with it, that I just was never good at it. So the landscape photography I started doing more and more of because it jived better with kind of the way I go through life, I guess. I tend to do photography better when I'm alone. And so that was a good way to utilize it.
I think a lot of photographers do photography better alone for the fact that there's no distraction. And photography is very much like, I need to focus.
For sure.
Not the camera, but I need to constantly have my eyes out, my ears. It's funny to say, like, where's the wind blowing? Because that becomes part of the photo.
Yeah.
Like, where's the sun? Where's it going? Where's the moon coming up?
Yeah, there's a lot to factor in.
Yeah, and then like, I got 3 boys and a wife, and I love going with them to places, but it's like, all right, just don't kill yourself. I'll be right back. Oh, well. And I go home with one less person. Yeah. It's a constant, going on your own.
Yeah.
It's much easier.
Although I think most photographers don't have my unfortunate trait of having a pretty hairline trigger on telling people to F off.
Oh.
So, it's not a good trait. I'm constantly trying to train myself out of it. But, if I photograph people and they're like, oh, I don't like, in any way, I don't like how they look in that photo, my internal reaction is to tell them to F off. That's how you look.
Right.
But that's not the right response, especially if you're doing wedding photography or you're doing, shooting for a client. So
you're not a bride.
It will not do well. So those things were kind of always off limits for me because of my short fuse reaction on that kind of stuff. I've gotten a lot better at it, but certain things where if I'm being directed too much to take photos, I get really irritated.
Oh, by a client or somebody, yeah.
I do architectural photography, and sometimes the building owner, via the realtor, broker, I guess I should say, via the broker has given me a map with arrows on the angles they want. And my reaction is to just crumple that thing up and then come back up with a middle finger. Because, I'm like, do you think I don't know how to do this? I get so mad, and it's so unjustified. And I get that they're just worried about getting the best quality pictures, and it's okay, and I should just be understanding. But I have such a short fuse on that kind of stuff. There's a lot of types of photography I would never be good at. So luckily, the architectural stuff and the landscape stuff has worked out. But through high school and stuff, those time periods, I didn't know. So I thought I was supposed to be okay with taking pictures of people rather than, there's other industries you can try that are maybe going to jive better with you.
Many. But it's the best thing about photography.
Oh, yeah. There's so many different approaches. I mean, even now, half the photographers out there feels like they don't sell pictures. They just post stuff on YouTube, and that's how they make their income, or they put out zines once a year or something. It's they're not actually shooting for any clients, and that's fine. It's another way to make money, but that was completely non-existent, when I was coming up in it. So the types of avenues I could go down, I was thinking very simply on it and very kind of linear, someone will hire me to take a picture of this. Someone will hire me to take a picture of that. But it can be much more interesting and creative in how you monetize things now, I think. Because we have all this social media stuff, and we have, other products that people want now that maybe they didn't want back then.
Right.
I mean, this is why everyone and their mom sells presets.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me started on it. But
and people are making money off of that.
That's always the insane part to me. It's so you're selling them for this amount of money, and people are actually paying you for that? To make your pictures look like yours?
Right. And all you did was move the contrast 5 clicks and take your saturation down 2 clicks, and then push your warmth up 2 clicks, and you're calling that morning rise. Yeah.
Well, not only that, they have morning rise, and then morning rise darker, morning rise lighter, morning rise warmer, morning rise cooler. It's I got 100 presets, but really it's 5. They're just slightly adjusted. It's insane to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
that'll be another podcast we'll do on telling people to go to hell with their presets.
think we could fill a lot of time with all the things that are kind of annoying to me in the photography community.
Oh God. So do you find yourself in going to college, or is there a jumping off point? You're like, this is going to be a career.
So I luckily decided pretty early that I wanted to be a photographer, probably in maybe sophomore year.
That's
of
good.
high school.
Was there a mentor or somebody that kind of said, "Hey, I liked what you're doing. You could make something of this," or was it your confidence going, I think I could do this?
I think it was my foolish confidence. I mean,
that's good to have, though. Believe in yourself.
To a degree, I think maybe I had too much, but I think every teenager and every 20-something thinks they know everything. I was that times two. I mean, I thought I knew everything about everything. I mean, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know you guys can't talk me out of it, whatever. I think ultimately it got me to pursue photography without any sort of safety net, which not having a safety net, I think, is the only reason I'm successful at it now, which we can talk about if you want, because, I mean,
yes, because
I had times where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's too stressful, but there's literally nothing else I have to offer anybody.
Right.
Because I don't have any other degree. I don't have any other skill. I've gone all in on photography.
Right. You've got all your chips on the table. That's
everything. I pushed it all in, and I'm failing miserably. So now what? Like, I could hit the reset button and go become an accountant or something.
Or whatever. Right.
Yeah, but it's like I literally can't afford to do that. Like I have rent to pay now or something, and it's like
there's always a point where it's no return.
Yeah, point of no return. I hit that several times where I had already gone past the point of no return, but I was so ready to give it up, and I wanted to stop, and it was too stressful. And especially just running your own business, anyone who does it knows how stressful it is. But when it's a failing business and you're trying so hard to make it successful, like you are not slacking off. Right. You're working holidays. You're trying to figure out ways to be creative with marketing, and it's still failing. It's the worst feeling in the world. But luckily, I had no backup plan, so I didn't have an easy out.
Failure was not an option.
Exactly. Yeah. And people, I'll hear that failure is not an option. Like, we have to figure this out. Like, oh, that's just the go-getter attitude. No, it means there is no other option than to succeed at this. So you have to. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to suck for a long time, but you're going to have to make this work. And I was kind of with that with photography, but that foolish confidence in the beginning, I just saw National Geographic photographers, and without doing any research about how much money they make or how they really make their money, mostly workshops.
Right.
Without knowing any of that, I just decided I'm going to be a nature photographer. Like,
at what point is this?
This is about sophomore year.
Okay.
So then I decided, okay, I'm going to go on the path to be a professional photographer. And then I kind of start researching, what kind of colleges offer photography programs. Because, I was born and raised in a community that's very college-centric. Okay. And to the extent that if your kid didn't go to college, it's like, oh no, what happened?
Yeah. What disability does he have?
Yeah. Or even worse, like, oh, he's going to community college? Oh, good for him. Yeah. It's like that kind of community.
It would have been better off if you joined like the Coast Guard.
Way better. Because it's like, oh, he's got a purpose, and then he'll go to college. Right. Like, the thought of not going to college that's not an option. Like, what are you talking about? Unless your kid has something wrong with him. Why is he not going to college? So my natural thought was college. So I started researching photography programs. I knew that Orange Coast College, the community college here, actually had a very kind of renowned photography program.
Absolutely, they do.
And my dad has several patients who are in that, and they would tell him that, it's like one of the best programs around. So I thought about that, and then, but that's community college.
Right.
That's a black mark.
Right.
So then I eventually came across Brooks Institute, which is no longer around, but at the time that was like the nearest dedicated photography school. I think there's one in New York called NYI or NYIP or something. But
did you not see, was it Pasadena Art Center? Did you not look at them?
I think I had heard about that, but the fact it was art center, not photography college, like I just kind of brushed it off. Right. It probably would have been a much smarter move.
Paintbrushes.
It's like art, photographer.
Yeah.
But Brooks was a photography institute, so that appealed to me. So, I started the whole process of going there. And it just wasn't going well. we went through the application process, and it felt much more like a sales pitch, like they were trying to convince us to go there. And it just felt a little weird to me. Also, I didn't really want to go to college.
You just wanted to go out and start shooting, didn't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to take pictures. Which is stupid. You got to do something. You can't just go out and take pictures. But I really just wanted to take pictures, and my parents were pretty insistent on me going to college, which was actually a major source of friction for us at the time. And I mean, it got bad enough that I would call my brother who was moved out, and it came to a head one night with my parents where I told them I don't want to go to college, I don't want to go to Brooks, I don't want to do any of this, and it came to a head where basically what the hell are you talking about? That's not going to happen. And I called my brother, and told him all about it. He's like, dude, worst case scenario, you can come live with me. So in my mind, I'm like, am I really going to have to leave?
Take my cameras and go.
Like when I'm 18, just leave.
Right.
Because as foolishly confident as I was about becoming a photographer, I was equally stubborn about once I made a decision.
Right.
You're not gonna change my mind. So when I decided I'm not going to Brooks.
And did you not look at any other colleges, like maybe Arizona State or something that had a decent photo program? You just wanted a big school, big program, nothing.
Yeah, because by that point, I didn't want to go to college in general, but Brooks was like, well, at least it's photography college. Right. And so when I reached the point where I didn't want to go there, I was kind of literally, look, it was Brooks or nothing, and it ain't Brooks, so it's nothing.
Right.
And my parents were just not having that. Now, in my parents' defense, and again, they're the most supportive people on the planet, at that time, a college degree actually meant something.
Sure.
And I don't just mean photography, I just mean in general.
Right.
My class, I graduated high school 2005, we were the first wave of college graduates with completely useless degrees and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt.
Yep.
So they hadn't seen that yet.
Not yet, no.
So
it wasn't on your parents' radar.
Yeah, and in their mind, it was completely logical to say, how are you going to get a job without a degree?
Right. They're from that generation of Nick, you have to.
Absolutely. Because they were picturing me going out there with a high school diploma, trying to get employed.
Right.
And they couldn't really wrap their minds around well, I'm not ever going to be employed. I'm going to be a freelance photographer or something like that. And I hadn't even really worked that out yet. So they were right to push me so hard. But looking back on it in retrospect, I think even they are grateful that I didn't do that.
Right.
Because I'm not saddled with student loan, which is huge.
Yeah, you'd still be paying it off.
Yeah, I'd still be paying it off. And that's huge. And that could jeopardize getting a house. I mean, crazy ancillary things.
Everything.
Yeah, car loan.
Credit cards, everything.
There's crazy ancillary negative side effects to that they couldn't have.
Can you imagine walking away with $100,000 in debt?
Well, especially Brooks Institute was $60,000 a year or $60,000 or some insane thing. And it was all going to be student loans. They were going to help me a lot, but it was
still going
to be loans. Either they're paying it or I'm paying it. And I don't want them paying it. So we eventually got past that point of friction.
Okay.
And I just kind of started working day jobs to pay the bills while I tried to get my photography business off the ground. And
now, do you try to start this business after high school?
Yeah, I technically opened it in 2006. So that's when I legally filed it with the county. Okay. And so that was 1 year after high school. Okay. And I graduated high school a semester early because I was just over it, and I didn't jive well with high school, so I just got the hell out of there.
See ya.
Yeah, yes, peace out.
It was fun.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what people from high school say about me, because I think back on this weird guy who's very emo, couldn't talk to chicks, weighed about 88 pounds, 98 with the battery pack. And then he just pieced out.
In a couple of years, on your 20s, when you get to bring that battery pack to the reunion.
I'll tell you how
I'm 190 now with this pack on.
I'll tell you how badly I jived with high school, and I guess how badly high school jived with me. I haven't heard about any of the reunions.
Oh, Jesus.
But I've been teaching photography for a long time, and I had some classes going in Tustin. And maybe 2 years ago, a former high school classmate took the class, and we kind of knew each other, so we were, we're talking and everything. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I saw so and so at the high school reunion 2 years ago." I'm like, What? There's a high school reunion?
What high school was this?
Is there Northwood High School?
All right, Northwood High School. If anybody's listening, you got to get Nick on the 20-year
okay.
reunion. He's got to show up, battery pack and all. He was there. He did his 3.5 years, like up in county. You got to let him in.
I'll have a full car battery on my waist now to make up for the extra weight I've gained.
He's all hip with the kids now.
No, if they never see me ever again, I'm fine with that. I don't want to stare anybody in the eye.
You got to see Mike and Julie from biology, and little Gary, from math.
There's a few people I'll be happy to see.
Sure.
High school reunion, I don't know about that.
Mr. Tucker might show up.
That would be awesome. I'd go there for that.
Southern draw is 8 fingers.
I would go there for that all day. Yeah. Yeah. So
So you were off and running. By 6, you're like, I'm a businessman. I'm taking pictures.
Yeah. So I had
prepare the world.
Yep. Yeah, for failure. And
but it has to be prepared.
It's got to be prepared. Get ready for it. So in 2006, I opened it officially, but I was still working a day job, just like a appointment scheduling guy for these sales guys.
Okay.
Did that for a while. And while I was working that day job, I was basically just squirreling away all the money I could. So I was obviously still living at home because I was 17, 18, 19. Just squirreling away money. In my time after work, I was building my website. I was, taking pictures. I was foolishly going all in on a fine art, quote unquote, approach to business.
Okay.
And
that's just
it's
red
insane.
flags.
Yeah, it's insane. It's red flag. It's an impossible thing unless you've already done a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
Even Ansel Adams didn't have a fine art career.
No.
So this is the downside to not going to college, is I didn't know anything about business. And I just foolishly thought, I'll take pictures of, a pretty sunset in Crystal Cove and people will be flocking to buy them. And it's like, no, they aren't sport. Like, no one wants your pictures because they don't know who you are, for one. But also the picture's not even that good. So I was just going all in on that.
You were trying to forge a trail without a machete. I mean, you're just,
yeah, or like a dull butter knife, which gives me some sense of maybe I'm doing it. But
you're just pushing brush away at that point. You're not even cutting anything.
Yeah.
But that's the issue.
Yeah. So I failed on that miserably, and the failure manifested in I had saved up what felt like a lot of money from the day job. In hindsight, it wasn't a lot of money, but for me, it was a lot of money. And I just blew through all of it buying stupid things, frame supplies, prints, packaging materials to ship out all these thousands of prints I'm going to sell. I spent a ton of money on Google advertising for my fine art. And I just burned through that money like it was like I was dying in 3 months. You know, like I had to spend it. Yeah, Google loved me. Yeah. And I burned through all that. And now I have $0.
Now, do you have any sales at this point? Is anybody buying anything?
No. I think maybe I sold one print to some
So where's the delusion
person
that you think things are going to sell, but nothing's selling?
Stupidity.
They're just going to come at some point. They'll show up.
Yeah. If you build it, they will come eventually.
Right.
I thought it would take a while for it to like catch on. Like,
what's your while? 12 months? 18 months?
I don't think I even picked a timeline. I'm just like, I'm doing this. And I was too stubborn and too proud to just like say, it's not working. I need to learn something. I never went and learned anything.
Right.
That would have been a smart move, is go learn about business, go talk to photographers and see like, how do you really make money? But,
now, are you talking to any photographers at this point? Do you have a photography group, buddies, anybody that bounce ideas off of?
Not really.
Someone help you reach over and pump the brakes?
My dad had a patient who had worked at Olympus for many years. He's an executive there. And then he kind of left to become a photographer, and he was doing corporate headshots and stuff like that. And I assisted for him once. He was kind of that for me. He was a great guy. His name was Pasquale. He actually worked at Sammy's in Santa Ana for a long time. Yeah, a real nice guy.
And he didn't sit you down with a cup of coffee and say, listen there, Nick.
It's funny you say that. He actually did sit me down with a cup of coffee, but I was too young to like coffee, so I ordered a hot chocolate. And I cannot think of anything more embarrassing and cute than like it's like I was probably 19 when I was like 19. I'm like, no coffee for me. That's too strong. I'll have a hot chocolate. At least order tea or something.
Yeah.
Something adult.
And milk and some cookies for this young lad.
So he kind of ushered me along, but I think he was smart. He knew I wasn't going to just listen to like, hey, you're screwing this up, kid. Like, you got to do it right. Because I was very stubborn, and I would get so upset about anyone trying to tell me that you're wrong for doing it this way.
Right.
Like, I had such low self-esteem in high school that I just couldn't take criticism at all. I still struggle with that.
You just didn't understand it.
I just didn't understand it. It's like, it's not personal, man.
Right,
You don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
like,
it's not personal.
Yeah, and I'll help you how to do it. But I think also, too, I had imagined this life of, like, a National Geographic photographer that was all based entirely on, movie made-up Hollywood ideas of what a nature photographer is. And I don't mean literally Hollywood movies, but just, like, gleaning stuff from magazines. Oh, Galen Rowell seems like he's like just traveling the world all the time, and he's just taking pictures, and people are sending him money in droves.
You saw Bridges Over Madison County, and that's what you thought.
Exactly.
You thought you were going to have a red pickup truck with a bunch of Kodachrome.
Yeah.
Woo some woman in the middle of Iowa.
Some married woman.
Yeah, some married woman.
Is that Clint Eastwood?
Yes,
Yeah.
and Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
Again.
who doesn't want to be Clint Eastwood?
But again, another photographer who's a bastard.
Yeah, exactly.
Woos off some married woman.
I thought it was going to be Clint Eastwood.
Right. To shoot a red barn.
Yeah, exactly.
Bridge or whatever it was.
And they'll pay me.
Yeah, and they'll pay
They.
Right.
Somebody.
And
Yeah.
that, of course, doesn't happen.
Never happens. So I just had pictured this perfect life of like,
I know.
I'm going to
We've all
travel
been
and take
there.
landscapes, and it's
Yes.
great. And anyone who tried to inject some reality into my fantasy was so repulsive to me that I just canceled it. I just no.
Right.
I get that you're 50 and you've been in this industry forever, but I'm 19 and I know what I'm talking about. Like, it was so stupid and so foolish. And
It's funny. You think you're in a small group. There's a lot of photographers that are in that group with you.
I hope so.
No, there are. Okay. I know about 175 of them just in Orange County.
Yeah.
You just haven't met them yet, but there's a lot. I get you in. They meet on Tuesdays, the first Tuesdays of the month.
At a bar?
At a bar.
Yeah. Drink their woes away.
No,
I
they
could
just
be on
drink. It's not, those are still there. But yeah, it's so many photographers that have that issue.
Yeah.
And it's not an issue, but it's just not accepting criticism. Be like, listen, I can help you.
Yeah.
Just all I'm going to tell you, young man, if you take these 2 business courses, your life will be so much easier.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that would be really helpful to beginning photographers, is like the more nuts and bolts approach of like, hey, you got to make money with this. Like, you need to provide a product that people want. Like, you need to treat this like a free market, because it is. Like, no one's going to pay you money to be you.
Right.
And that's what I was expecting people to do. The criticisms in terms of the actual work, I still struggle with that, because a lot of it is, I don't really care what your opinion is. I do this because I want to take pictures a certain way. And as soon as I'm taking pictures in a way that I don't like to take them, I might as well work at Starbucks.
Right.
So that's why I'm not a good commercial photographer. The architectural stuff's okay because they leave me alone and they let me do it the way I want to do it.
Right.
But
And they don't want to be there at 5:30 in the morning when you're waiting for the sun to
they
come
don't
up.
want to be over my shoulder telling me what to do the whole time anyway. So I found a good niche where my aversion to critiques of my photography doesn't come up very often.
Right.
This is why I could never be a wedding photographer, because no one likes the wedding photos.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So having someone come along and say, I get that you want to sell fine art prints, but nobody wants them. Like, that would be a really tough pill to swallow at the time, and I don't think I would have been able to swallow it. I just would have said, okay, when we're done with this conversation, I'm never talking to you again. Like, really stupid stuff like that.
Right.
But that's really what I needed to hear, is like, this, you're treating this as a job. So you need to treat it like a job. If you're not offering something that people want, you're not going to get any money.
Right.
It sounds like the most basic, simple thing, but for some reason, I just wouldn't wrap my mind around that at the time. It's like,
Right.
well,
I
who's
hear
going
you.
to...
Yeah.
Because who's going to pay you to take pictures? It's like, does anyone okay, let's say I go to Yosemite and I take a bunch of pictures of Yosemite Valley. First off, why would they pick my picture over Ansel Adams?
Right.
Or any other photographer?
Yeah.
Second of all, does my picture really look any different than someone who took it 20 years ago even?
Or 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, 10 minutes ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Does it really look any different?
Right.
So the market is saturated and there's not much demand. Mm-hmm. Smart approach in terms of business. What would be smart is to shoot fashion or cars or architecture, things that need constant updating, things where people need good images of this thing they're trying to sell. Mm-hmm. Because then they'll give you some of that money that they're going to make.
Right.
So it took me a long time to realize, like, A, fine art's a luxury, so people aren't going to really buy it anyway.
Right. Half Dome has not changed.
Yeah, Half Dome's not any different. You're not going to do anything that special there, sport.
Yeah.
Like, Ansel Adams shot it way better. The guy 10 minutes before you shot it way better. Mm-hmm. So,
and the guy in 10 minutes is going to shoot it.
Probably going to shoot it better than you too. And they're all going to look basically the same. So
crap.
Yeah. So I kind of felt like, when I eventually had that realization, it's just kind of like, what the hell am I going to do?
How old are you at this point? With a slap in the face of like, damn it. I get it.
That
the first time.
Probably 2008-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple years in.
And I still hadn't fully let go of that.
Right.
But I had reached a point where I was so broke and I was spending so much money that I said, like, I have to bring money in. It doesn't matter how, I need to bring money in. Otherwise, this thing's failing and I got to go to Starbucks.
And that's a scary thing to say.
Scary because, no one likes failure for one, but also this would be the ultimate failure. I'm deciding what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I've failed a year and a half in,
right.
2 years in.
And as an artist, that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Because we put ourselves out, we create something and go, I hope you love it enough to buy it.
Yeah, it's not like something I engineered that just took, numbers and math and my brain. It was something that came like from deep inside me. I'm bearing it all out. This is important to me. I hope you like it. And everyone's saying, no, we don't like it.
Yeah.
So
don't like that kid.
Any creative endeavor, it's so much harder to take criticism, I think, because it really is a personal reflection of you, and they're basically saying no to you.
Yeah. They're rejecting your taste, style, creation, everything.
Exactly.
And it's painful.
Very painful.
Especially young.
Yeah, especially young,
right?
Especially with low self-esteem. All the things, especially after all the non-success with ladies up until that point. Like, all this is piling up. Like, there's nothing I'm really that great at other than photography, and I'm finding out that I'm not that great at it. So
the one love you have is who's rejecting
she's
you.
turning her back on. So
you will be turning your cameras in at a pawn shop in Fountain Valley soon. Full circle.
Yeah, it comes around. I'm part of the cycle. I bought it from myself. Whoa.
Yeah. Some kid who's 13 buys. Yeah, Christopher Nolan movie. He's probably going to steal this. It's all right.
Fine with me.
Yeah. As long as it's a good photographer.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the end, Nick saves somebody, gives out a kidney, happy ending.
Turns out he saves himself.
He saves himself with his own kidney.
Yeah, so it was tough to come to that realization, but in 2008, I so badly needed to get money in the door that a friend of mine, who's actually on the other side of the country, we mostly just wrote to each other. He
emails
said,
or letters?
Emails. Yeah.
Okay, so you wrote letters.
Not that
you guys
long
are
ago.
really tight.
I think it was emails. Yeah.
Okay.
But he said, like, you just need to get money in the door. Just put out an ad on Craigslist for some photography lessons, just camera lessons. I'm sure there's people that need that. So I did that, and it kind of blew up. Like, there was way more demand for that than I ever expected.
Okay, now, to do that, right, you to say, okay, I'm going to teach you photography, how good of a photographer were you in the ability to teach and know the camera, the f-stops, the shutter speeds, reciprocity, the whole gamut? Like, did you think you could do that, or is this just kind of like, I'm gonna do it?
So luckily, the technical stuff I had always found so interesting that I had gotten that down pretty good.
Okay.
Looking back on it, the artistry was not there, and I was not a good artist. But
that's either you have it or you build it.
Yeah.
But it's rare, like, just, within a year or two, I'm damn good at this.
Yeah, right. So it's taken me a long time to build, and I'm not even close to there yet.
You will get better. I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm glad to hear that because I hope I never hit a peak. I don't want to hit a peak because then the game's over.
Right. No, you will get better.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
because I want to get better.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I'm that good.
And I'm saying this for somebody who's been doing it. Like, you'll see yourself in 10 years and go, God, I can't believe what I took 10 years ago. Like, I wanted to sell to people.
I always tell my students that, like, when you look back on your photos and you think they were terrible, it's a great sign. That means you're getting better.
Right.
Yeah. So I hope that keeps going.
So there's a market now. People are knocking on your door to learn how to take a picture.
And I found out pretty quick, I'm actually a decent teacher. So I'm able to communicate a concept pretty well.
Okay.
So even if I didn't...
Where do you think you get that from?
My dad actually was a teacher. He's an optometrist, but he would teach at the optometry school.
You got an optometrist, a musician, and a coder. You're set as a photographer. Your eyes are good. Someone's playing the music, and someone's helping with your back end work.
It's actually really cool too because he would teach me about optics, a little bit,
right?
And he'd make analogies to the eye, and then
he's touching a little bit of what you're doing.
Yeah. So he told me he was the first one to tell me about SLR cameras and all that kind of stuff. So he's been amazingly supportive on that.
So his teaching kind of rubbed off a little bit.
I think it kind of runs in our family.
Okay.
It sounds weird, but both of my brothers are very good at helping someone else understand something in simple terms. Like my brother, he's the musician. He's really good at explaining kind of the complex topic of music. If anyone cares to listen, we just tend to be pretty good at explaining things. So I was lucky on that front. So the teaching kind of caught on, and I was doing pretty good at it. And the good news is, most of the students were, brand new photographers who got a camera that's way over their head. They picked up a Canon 5D at the time or, whatever. And they really only needed to learn shutter speed, aperture, ISO, exposure compensation, white balance, pretty simple things to
just send
teach
them on
to people.
Their way.
Yeah. And I feel like I should catch myself. They're not always simple to teach. Some people really suck at teaching that stuff.
Yes.
Especially online. And I would have so many students over the years come to me, and I would teach them shutter, aperture, and ISO after they had tried to learn it online with YouTube or whatever. And I heard it so many times that I learned more in one lesson with you than I did in, whatever, X number of hours online or this entire course that I took or whatever. So I was able to distill those kind of technically complex topics down for people
to very simple forms.
Yeah. So,
and that's what those people need.
That's what they need. Yeah. And, without overcomplicating it. So many teachers get into, I'm going to teach you manual metering right now. And it's like, they got to learn ISO first, and they got to learn, that the shutter speed affects motion blur first.
And let's face it, a lot of these people are just taking pictures of their kids playing soccer or want a decent family photo.
They want the quick, easy way to get the shot they're envisioning.
Right.
So, I was able to do that, and that was in need at the time. So I became quite successful as a teacher. So I was doing private lessons, and I was working out of my bedroom at my parents' house. So I was actually just visiting people at their homes or meeting them at Starbucks or something. And I had little visual aids on my computer and all this kind of stuff. And I'd walk them through all the buttons on their camera. And that kept growing. And then I started teaching classes at the local community center in Irvine.
So how'd you find that? Because I saw that doing some research on you, that you were working at that local Irvine center. How did you stumble upon and say, like, I can teach people?
Again, that foolish, ridiculous confidence I had, and coupled with a very strong need to make money. So, I just thought, well, there's community, or maybe someone even mentioned it, like, the community most center, cities have community centers where they teach photography or whatever. So I just looked into it. Irvine Fine Arts Center was teaching photography, and I came up with this idea for a landscape photography class and started teaching that. And then those students who took the class wanted more classes, so I came up with some more, and it just kind of kept growing and growing.
Snowballed on you.
Yep.
And then, when they were pretty open to it, like, hell, sure, this is great.
They're great. I love the people at Irvine Fine Arts Center. They're some of the coolest, most laid-back people, and they were very supportive. And
that's good.
At one point, they let me even do my private lessons there, and they didn't, tell me to shoo or charge me or anything. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, they're really, really great people.
So that's a bit of a little life raft.
Yeah, they were great. And, they did all the promotion, really. So I just kind of showed up and contract instructor.
Did your thing.
Did my thing. And that was great for a while. But then I got so busy that I needed to open my own center my own office. It wasn't cutting it, driving to everyone's home anymore. So I got an office in Tustin with a classroom and a little private lesson room, and I've been there since coming up on 9 years.
Okay.
So I started doing more classes there.
Now, what made you think like this can work to the next level? Because it's one thing going to a community center. It's the next thing when you're like, I'm going to rent space.
Yeah, that's huge. Necessity, really.
Okay. You were feeling like you could cover it.
Yeah, barely.
Because now you got to rent.
Yeah, barely.
It's one thing if 12 people don't show up at the class.
Luckily, I was still living at home.
Okay.
So I had no rent there.
I mean rent to the business.
I didn't have much overhead in my life, so it was relatively easy to take that on. My parents, God bless them, they co-signed on the lease for me so I could get it.
Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Thank you, Mom and Dad. They believed in me. And at that point, my group class offerings were very limited because I was just doing it at the Fine Arts Center, and they didn't need me to teach everything. So I only had 2 classes there. But by getting this office space with a classroom, I knew I could start offering a beginner's class and a filters class, and I could start
branching
adding in
out,
more,
right.
And then I would get to keep the entire profits. Granted, I'm paying rent, but the Fine Arts Center isn't taking 50%.
Right.
So,
how'd you find the place? You just go around with a realtor and
literally just drove around,
looking for
just looking for an office space.
That's cool.
I looked at an industrial space in Mission Viejo. I looked at a couple places in Tustin, a couple places in Lake Forest, and drove by this building in Tustin and saw the leasing sign on it. So
stumbled in and said,
and it was perfect. I mean, because almost no other building would have suited the needs so perfectly, because it had this long, kind of skinny room.
Like a little long conference room kind of?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it perfectly fit like 4 8-foot tables with 3 chairs each. But for any other purpose, it wouldn't be that useful. And I found out it was actually a children's tutoring center before I got there. So
great.
Yeah, it was basically a school. So I rented that, and I will be concluding that probably sometime between now and September. I'm trying to get out of the lease so I can start working from home, because the classes have completely disappeared. So I don't need it anymore. But served me really well for a long time. And the teaching business was very, very successful. But I found at some point that I was tired of never taking pictures. I was just always telling other people how to take pictures. Yeah, so I was getting a little burned out on that. So then that led to the architectural photography stuff. So
let's pause for a second for our sponsor before resetting our conversation with Nick. So how do you stumble into architectural? Because that's a not a simple thing to dive into all of a sudden, how to photograph a building.
Yep. Yeah, so I've been doing, landscape photography almost exclusively, which is architectural adjacent, but it's not quite there.
Right.
It's similar equipment, similar approaches, but still a lot to learn.
Because you got to keep lines straight. You can't keep lines straight. Everything can't look like a pyramid.
Yep. Got to learn how to square up. Got to learn how to use a shift lens. All that kind of stuff.
Is that how you find yourself getting into large format?
Kind of
because
eventually.
Of that ability to correct?
Kind of eventually. That was more due to a big slump I hit where I was ready to give up photography, and I just needed something that was exciting again.
Okay.
If I happened to be that. But the architectural stuff I got into because I've been going to Pro Photo Connection here in Irvine since I was about 14 or 15. They've known me forever. And John, the manager over there, has known me forever. And I just went into him one day. I'm like, hey, do you know any architectural photographers that maybe would let me tag along and kind of learn about it a bit and maybe help them or something? He gave me a few names. One of the guys was on his way out, so he said, nah, I don't really have anything. And another guy, I think, never got back to me, or he's too busy or something. But then another guy at that same time was going to John and saying, I need another shooter. Do you know anybody that I could train up?
Wow.
And so he hooked us up. And
that's luck.
Yeah, incredible luck. And we're he always says we're like yin and yang. He has a very different approach to things than me. I'm more structured and organized. He's much more we'll figure it out when we get there.
Loosey-goosey, yeah.
But it ends up working together really well because he now basically takes care of all the client interaction or delegates that to a guy who handles the client interaction. And he's and I do pretty much all the shooting, which I prefer doing. I don't like really interacting with the clients if I don't have to. So I just get an address, show up, shoot this building, make it look good, send off the files, and then I don't really have to ever have to deal with the stuff I don't like dealing with, which is billing and, back and forth with clients and all that kind of stuff.
When you first started out, are you shooting film or digital?
So at that time I was all digital, and I went out with him on a few shoots, and he showed me, how to do shift lenses and how to square up and some compositional stuff. And
right, it's funny. A lot goes into making a building look appeasing.
Oh yeah,
beautiful.
Especially the buildings I'm shooting.
Right. You're not shooting ones that are just gorgeous.
Yeah,
they're complexes. They're just that's it.
Yeah, because I don't shoot for architects. So I mean, shooting for architects is great because it's brand new, it's fresh. They're proud of the work, so they want it to look good and all that. I shoot for commercial real estate, so they're trying to sell it, so they need it yesterday. They need a ton of photos. No, we don't have budget for lighting, or we don't have time for lighting or any of that kind of stuff, so it's all exposure blended, which I'm not crazy about, but it's fine. So the type of client jives well with me too, because I tend to work very fast and I get very frantic when I shoot, which works really well for them because they want a wide variety of photos. Okay. And we don't have time for lighting anyway, which I don't know that I would have the patience for. Even though it does look way better.
Right.
So it's a really good type of photography for my personality, but more than that, it's consistent work. I have a great relationship with the guy who started the business originally, and we kind of tag team things that are higher end, and it's worked really well. And then now the photography class side of it is gone completely. Private lessons are almost gone completely and will be soon. And then I just still have the online courses going. So,
has there been any buildings you've come to and you're like, oh, I got a good one?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what's actually really fun about it is every shoot's different. And sometimes I shoot really dumpy, crappy properties, which can be as fun. Right. Because, every photographer loves a little bit of urban decay and all that kind of stuff. So I get to photograph that a bit. But then sometimes I'll shoot these nice, high-end, tens of millions of dollars worth properties that have just been redone, and it's posh and it's cool and it's hip and it's mid-century or whatever I'm into. And that's equally as fun because every picture's looking awesome. Right. I don't even have to try that hard.
It's all working for you.
Yeah. So it's for a long time when I started doing this architectural photography, I was a little not proud of it and not proud of the type of architectural photographer I was, because I'm not doing lighting. Right. And it's hacky to a lot of architectural photographers, and I get that. If you're shooting for, a high-end architect, or you're shooting for some high-end magazine,
$100 million building,
and you're raking the carpet, and you're bringing in lighting, and you got someone staging all the furniture, and and you're scouting the photos ahead of time, and you're really doing it, quote unquote, the right way. I get why they might look down on what I do. And I don't care anymore, luckily, but it kind of bothered me for a little while. But what I do is much more run and gun. It's exposure blend.
That's natural. There's always a look up to what they're doing at the higher end.
Yeah, sure.
And then they look down I wouldn't do that. But you got to pay the bills. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it for one. And also, the work is much more consistent.
Right.
I'm just always busy. Yeah. And I'm not waiting for... let's say the housing market crashes or the economy crashes. I'm probably still going to be as busy, if not busier. People won't be building. Right. So if you're an architectural photographer for architects or builders, you may not be working for a few months.
Or years.
Yeah, or years. But I'll probably still be working because whether it's an up economy or down economy, people are constantly shuffling properties. And they're trying to move their money from here to there. And even if the building doesn't sell, they're still trying. Right. So I'm still getting hired.
They got to make it look good, so they're bringing in somebody to make their pictures of their beautiful building.
Right. So it's been really great for me, and he calls me a partner, my business partner now, because he's been so happy with the work I've delivered that he says I'm basically equal owner. But
that's nice.
Yeah, it's awesome, and he's like the coolest guy in the world. He wants me to succeed more than anybody I know. He really genuinely wants me to do well, and I'm constantly grateful that he's in my life and he's given me so much work and everything. But we work really well together. It's nice being on a team because, anyone who's been a solo photographer knows that it can get kind of hard because you got no one to commiserate with. When a client's pissing you off or you got...
It could be lonely.
Yeah, and you got no support if you feel like you need to go handle something. But, if I'm in a real bind, I can call the guy who does the scheduling and just be like, dude, I'm sorry, man, I can't make it happen today. Like when I had to put my dog down a few years ago, or a couple years ago, that was one of those days where I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't do it today. And he's just like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And he just reschedules it. I don't have to worry about it. So having like the team around me is awesome. But the type of work is a grind. I think most people would hate it. I'm always joking with my business partner. I'm like, the best job security we have is who the hell else is going to do this?
Right.
Like, you can't be prideful. You have to be willing to photograph ugly stuff. You have to put up with a lot of like property managers not doing their job and kind of annoying stuff that if you're a prima donna, you would just walk.
Right.
But you have to put up with it and you have to swallow it and you got to just do it. You got to drive all over the place. Like there's plenty of downsides, especially sucks in the summer because like you're out shooting a retail center on tarmac for 8 hours with no shade.
Right.
Like we got sent to photograph a Vegas retail center this past August. And dude, it got so hot when I was taking pictures that my camera stopped working. I have a 5D Mark IV. I literally got a warning on the back, like your camera's too hot, you can't take pictures. That was just from being in the sun. Like just from me trying to get a bracketed shot.
Just composition.
Yeah.
And
So I had to move into the shade, and I look like a dork. I got my wide brim hat. I got my sun sleeves on and my shorts, and like I'm all slathered in sunscreen. Like there's so much
very sexy
about
look.
It. Yeah.
Right. Very sexy look.
Yeah. If you're proud and you want to be sexy photographer with your tripod slung over your shoulder and you're going to take on the world, it's not the right job for you. Yeah. So thankfully, I'm okay with that. And it actually works pretty well for me because, I don't know, I guess, again, going back to the low self-esteem, I don't expect deserving much more than that. So I'm like,
well, of course the camera overheated. It's me.
I'm even like, why do I deserve AC? Like I don't have a college degree. I'm supposed to be out here
only guys
baking
with
in the heat.
Degrees get AC.
So
let me tell you a secret. It's true, actually. If you have a college degree and you're in Vegas, there's a woman that follows you around with a fan, and she just kind of blows you off.
I didn't know about her because I didn't get the college degree, so they don't tell me about that.
No. Yeah, she's a beautiful woman.
Of course.
Yeah.
She's fanning college graduates.
You should see if you have a master's degree what happens. Two fans.
Yeah,
two ladies, two fans. Yeah.
Yeah, so I missed out on that not going to college, but...
it's okay.
Yeah. So it's been a very interesting path towards being... a working photographer. And then the whole YouTube thing is just a completely weird aspect to my life that's been awesome and incredible and led to, more business success and everything. But, I told my wife this a little while back, like, where I am now in my career is light years different from what I was picturing.
Well, right.
But it's also light years better. Like, It's so much better than what I had pictured. And I never could have planned getting to where I am now.
So what do you tell, and we're not done with this podcast by any means, but like, what do you tell 18-year-old Nick right now? Because it's not like you're 75-year-old Nick.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not like...
75-year-old Nick's going to be telling me something else.
Right. You got like grandkids on your lap, and you're like, let me tell you a little secret. No, like, so what do you tell, not that far away, removed from 18-year-old Nick right now? What would you have tell him?
Yeah, I mean...
Because I hope a lot of people are listening.
I hope so. I mean, I definitely don't have it all figured out. I'm probably sounding like I think I do, but I definitely don't. But
and it doesn't. You don't need to.
No,
just what would you
don't,
tell?
and I hope I don't. But younger me, I mean, the first thing I'd tell me is just, can we cuss on this?
Yes.
Just fucking relax. Like, that's what I'd tell me is, just fucking chill out, man. Like, you're not going to be able to plan this to death.
Yeah.
You cannot plan where you're going to end up.
No.
So go with the flow, relax, have some fun. And in terms of like straight nuts and bolts business, start offering something people actually want.
Right.
Because what you're offering right now, they don't want. So whatever you can find that is palatable to you, you don't have to like it, it's just got to be palatable, go do that. It's not going to be portraits, because I know you're about to try that.
Right.
But you're going to hate it. Don't even bother. Don't try and make that work. Try teaching. Turns out you really like that, so try that. Maybe try some architectural stuff, because you're going to like that a lot one day. And start shooting film again, because you are going to burn out bad on photography with film out of your life.
Right.
So just get back into it now, because you might as well avoid that whole downturn you're going to experience in 2012.
Would you tell young Nick, junior college isn't so bad? Take a couple of courses, and maybe there's a business one.
I'd probably tell him to take business courses.
Right.
I don't know about photography courses,
right.
but
just take some business courses.
Yeah,
Counting,
learn how to run a business. Yes, absolutely.
Because forever, if you think you're going to be a photographer, you're going to touch that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would also tell myself to maybe even take a class on architecture or geography. Learn your subject, and you'll probably make better photos.
That's interesting on the geography. Yeah.
Yeah, and funny enough, I ended up taking a geography class many years later so I could meet chicks. This is after a girlfriend and I broke up.
Of course, sure.
And that's how I met my wife.
Oh, there you go.
So it worked.
She a geologist?
No.
Oh, okay.
She was doing it for credits.
She's into rocks too.
She's into fashion, but she was doing it for credits. Yeah. So that actually worked out.
Thank God you took that course.
Seriously. I know.
Jesus.
I think about that all the time.
You'd still be angry, Nick, with it. It's just a
angry, never getting laid, Nick. He's no fun.
That's a bad sitcom.
Yeah, so luckily that worked out.
Good.
But I think it is important to learn about your subject. I had a student, it was actually a father-daughter team that did some private lessons with me, and I really love them. Both such great personalities. The dad ended up hiring me to do some corporate teaching gigs for his company. But
wow, that's nice.
Yeah, really cool. So he's a really great guy, super gregarious, really supportive of his daughter. And his daughter was at that age where she was going to start looking at colleges. And they came and asked me, she's really interested in photography. Should she, go to college for photography? And I asked her, I'm like, what are you interested in, taking pictures of? She said, fashion. I said, you should probably go to college for fashion. Or at least make that a big part of it.
Right.
Major in fashion, minor in photography, or vice versa, or something.
You're going to touch it.
Yeah, you got to be really, you have to care a lot about your subject if you want to take really good photos of it day in and day out for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't care about your subject, you have to really enjoy the process of something about that subject. Right. Even if you're shooting products or something, maybe you're not passionate about the product, but the game of figuring out how to best highlight that product. If that's enough to drive your passion,
Absolutely.
then cool. But I do wish I knew more about architecture. And geography, when I took that class, even though it's just to meet chicks, there was and by chicks I mean one chick, my wife.
I just love of all the classes you could pick.
I know. That's where all the ladies flock, is geography.
The ladies are all over that class.
Well, I'll tell you what happened.
Not art, not drama, not even a women's studies class. Right?
That would have been much smarter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking through the list of courses.
Was the weight room not it's like
Yeah. Was weight room not available?
Yeah.
Even more chicks over there.
Yeah.
I was looking through
Hey, Sully.
Maybe in a different life.
Right.
I was looking through the list of courses, and I was trying to find something where I'm like, oh, where's this going to be a lot of ladies? And, I was thinking all fashion and everything. I'm just like, the odds of me meeting someone are pretty slim. I should just take a course I want to take. So I took geography. So again, my low self-esteem kicked in and saved the day, because I was like, who are you kidding? You're not going to meet a chick. Just take a course you want to take. So I took geography.
There was this angel in there that
exactly
took you in.
Yeah, and I will say, to your point, there was no chicks in that class, really, or at least none that I'd be interested in.
Right.
And she was on the other side of the room. There was a desk next to her. I literally walked in first day. I'm like looking for what ladies are in there. Saw her, blonde hair. I'm like, all right,
done.
Sit down over there.
Boom. Sold.
Yeah, sealed the deal. It's done.
Jesus.
Super romantic.
Right.
Yeah, very romantic origin story.
Yeah. There's 16 guys in there and one woman. Oh, well, there's the odds. There you go.
Hey, made it so I wasn't overwhelmed with choices.
Right. She wasn't. She just didn't have a chance, really.
Just one gem, and much easier to find that way.
That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
So at least that's what you would have told young Nick.
I think so.
Let's get it together. There is a easier path.
It's an easier path here. You can at least start being successful earlier. You're probably still going to have to go through the same difficulties of trying to make it work, but let's at least get started on it earlier. And, just relax. It's going to work out okay. As long as you keep working hard, and I have a decent work ethic, so that's kind of the best job security, really.
Right.
Is, as long as you have that little bit of panic of not having work, you'll keep finding work. It's if you get complacent, I think, and, you're not worried about, where am I going to find money? Then maybe that's going to go too far, and you just won't look for how to make money anymore. Right. So you got to have a little bit of that kind of hunger of a little bit of panic of I need to make sure I get some money in next month.
Right. When you touched on a little bit, you said 2012.
Yeah.
And your eyes kind of crossed and you're kind of teared up.
Shiver go up my spine.
Yeah, a little prison scare. Like what happened in 12?
I just hit a really low point in my photography. I hadn't started the architectural stuff yet. So it was all teaching.
Okay.
And I just hit this breaking point where I was so ready to give it up. It just wasn't fun.
Wasn't sexy enough?
Wasn't fun. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't challenging myself, wasn't pushing myself or anything like that. And I think a lot of it is I was, again, telling people how to take pictures. I wasn't really doing it myself. So I wasn't really doing what I got into it for. I was real jaded on the community, too. I mean, the photography community, especially, and I hate to split it up to digital and film, but the digital photography community can be kind of abrasive.
Sure.
Sometimes.
No, it can be.
They can make you really feel like your equipment sucks.
Right.
stuff like that.
And there's a weird divide among, because there's the older guys like me that used to shoot film, and now we're shooting majority of digital because that's what their clients prefer. There's the new people that have gotten in and they only want to shoot film because they think that that's cool and hip. And there's people that have only done digital. And they look at you going, why would you
why the hell would you ever do that?
Ever. Like, I can post these right now on Instagram and it's fantastic. Right. You got to go to someplace and wait 2 weeks to get your film process. So there's this weird conundrum about how everybody looks at each other instead of they're all doing the same cool thing.
Yeah, it's all like it's different mediums of the same thing. It took me a long time to kind of realize that it's like oils and acrylics and watercolor. Like it's different mediums for visual arts. There's no reason we can't all get along and we don't have to all make each other feel bad because we're using a Canon instead of a Sony, or we shot at the wrong aperture or something like that. And those little things about the community where it's kind of this competitiveness and this kind of famine mentality of there's only so many people out there who need us, and we're all slitting each other's throats to, get ahead. Just really didn't enjoy that. Because I didn't get into photography because it's a competitive sport. I got it because it's a fun individual activity.
You fell in love with it.
Yeah, I fell in love with it. And the competition part of it was never part of that. So part of it was the community and the just teaching everybody and not really taking much pictures. But mainly, if I'm being completely honest, my work was stale. I was not creating anything that was meaningful to me. I was mostly taking pictures that I thought my students would ooh and ah at.
Right.
Which is never a good motivation.
No.
So
no, that's dangerous.
Very dangerous motivation.
When you're shooting for people below you, and I don't mean that in the wrong way, but just people that are newbies into it.
Or beginners. And,
they'll ooh and ah at anything because they can't figure out their camera, no less, to make that picture.
Yeah, you make the ocean look like fog with a 13-second shutter speed, and their heads are exploding, and you feel like a god. I mean, it's not...
Yes,
Yeah, I can show you how to do that, but,
I'm not gonna, because you're not ready yet. That's in course number 3.
Yet, sport. Right, so I was getting, positive feedback probably from the wrong crowd, for one, but...
And that's the thing about being a lone wolf.
Yeah.
You don't.
There's no one really to put you in check that's at your same level.
Right.
It's like, or above you.
Right.
And most people are nice. They don't want to tell you, hey, your work sucks, you need to do better.
Yeah. Or your mom's telling you the best thing ever.
That's part of the problem is I got the wrong audience. Everyone around me is going to support me.
Right.
So, and there's nothing wrong with them doing that, but I need to seek it somewhere else.
Because you always have to have that fire.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to be motivated to get better. And, I've never sought a critique, and I still don't. It's probably not to my benefit that I don't seek critiques, but I generally don't like my work to evolve that way.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Because I worry critiques will just lead to more pleasing a certain crowd.
Okay.
And it's just going to be a different crowd now. It's just going to be other photographers that are as knowledgeable as me or more knowledgeable. And why am I trying to impress them either?
Right.
So I eventually had to really ask myself, like, why am I doing this? And I literally did sit down and ask myself, what are the reasons you take photos? And I need to put these out clearly so that I can stick to them, because I'm deviating too much. And it all came back to, I basically wanted to take pictures that I would like to see hanging on my own wall, pictures that I'd like to see in print, or pictures that have never been done before, but that's pretty unlikely.
Right.
Most pictures have been
just
done.
Just a different variation of
maybe
it.
If it's a different enough variation, I'll do it.
Right.
But mostly I wanted to create something that I would put on my own wall, or I'd be proud to put on my own wall. And I didn't have any of my own pictures hanging on my wall.
Really?
Yeah. It was all colorful landscapey stuff. I hate that stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It looks great on a magazine cover, but it looks terrible on a wall, in my opinion. Again, I don't want to offend anybody. This is a personal opinion thing. I don't like it on my own walls.
Right. Right.
I tend to gravitate towards mid-century, a little more muted, Craftsman mid-century, kind of the older style stuff that there wasn't these crazy popping colors of, epic landscapes of water flowing around a rock. Like, there was no... That type of work wasn't really hanging in those types of places. It might be hanging in like a cabin in Wyoming or something.
Sure.
But that wasn't what I was into. So I eventually tried to start taking pictures that were more of a color palette that I would like to see hanging on my own wall, and subject matter that I would like to see hanging on my own wall. Looking at photographers that I admired, I came to the conclusion that I tend to like pictures that are either ultra simple or ultra complex, but I don't really like the stuff in between. So, one of my favorites is Andreas Gursky.
Okay.
And he does these generally very complex photos.
Very elaborate, right?
Yeah, very elaborate. And,
they're scenes. They're movie scenes.
They're huge prints, and there's a lot to look at. So, he has a picture of the 99-cent store that's, one of his most famous ones. And it's just the rows of shelving going off in the 99-cent store with a few people in between. And that's not a particularly difficult photo to take, but if it's printed up big, you could look at it for a half hour, just looking at all the different types of products and seeing the patterns and the colors and all that kind of stuff, and it makes for a very interesting photo. And then Gregory Crewson, who's my other absolute favorite, he's one of the only photographers I still look at his work, because I try to not look at photographers' work in general. But
why?
I tend to copy him too much.
Okay.
Yeah. So I end up subliminally or
without
consciously.
knowing, yeah, right.
Yeah,
All
or
of a
even
sudden you move
consciously.
a rock or a building, yeah.
Yeah, and I really hate... I've been out sometimes where I'm setting up a shot, and then I realize that I'm picturing someone else's photo as I'm doing it, and I get so mad.
You're trying to replicate it, yeah.
And I get so mad at myself. I'm like,
right.
Dude,
I did that the other day almost, yeah.
Yeah, so I
stopped myself. Whoa. Don't put the rock there.
Yeah, don't.
Because I just saw that rock there.
Don't shoot it just like that. Don't go for that color palette. That's not what you do. That's not what you like. It's just you saw it and it looked cool.
Right.
And I'm really bad at keeping those things in check just intentionally. So I found the best way I can avoid it is just not look at other work. And I feel bad about that because there's so many photographers that support me through YouTube and stuff, and I feel like I'm kind of betraying them by not looking at their work or not looking at other people's work. But it's truly I'm trying to prevent myself from copying people I admire. So, in fact, one of the biggest compliments is if I tell you I'm jealous of that photo or I can't look at your work, that means I like it too much and I'm going to start copying it. So, so I try to keep my mind pretty clean with that kind of stuff. And it's, I also get super jealous, and it puts me in a bad state of mind where I feel like I'm doing everything wrong. So, just for my mental state, it's a lot easier to not look at people's work.
That'll go away as you get older.
That would be great.
It will. As you mature, you realize like, okay,
It's definitely.
I am confident in myself,
That's good.
and I can do this, and I'm not going to like beat myself up because Greg got a better photo than I did. Hell with Greg.
Yeah.
You'll be like, all right, well, Greg got a good one.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Now I'm going to go kick Greg's ass. Find myself a landscape. Shove it, Greg. It's just, as you get older, you're just kind of like, oh, God. All right.
I've definitely gotten better with it as I've gotten older. And, we said before we started, I think in the beginning, you said I'm kind of an old soul.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
My mom said I was born 40 years old. I looked that way when I came out, just the way I was looking at stuff.
Does that have anything to do with the whiskey and a cigarette?
Yeah, I came out.
Thank you, lady.
I was also filing a business business permit, setting up a 401k.
I've been in the dark for a while. Thanks for bringing me out.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to really come into my own when I'm like 40 to 50. I think I'm going to finally feel more comfortable in my own skin because I
don't want to turn this into a therapy session and lay you down on a couch, but you will.
It's fine with me.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten more and more comfortable in my own skin with every passing year. I mean, I look back on my 20s and just what a mental wreck I was. I look back even 5 years ago what a mental wreck I was, and it's nice to calm down and,
And you're still very young in your career.
Thank you.
I mean, you really are in terms of like shooting time.
Makes me feel better. Thanks.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because it's not like let's say you started 07, 06, 07?
06, yeah.
Yeah.
Technically.
And legit time of shooting, not teaching, going out, you are very early in your career.
Well, that's good. I hope to improve. I mean, when
this isn't the 10,000 hour theory thing, this is just in like an onion. Instead of peeling away, it's putting on the onion. Yeah, you're still a very small onion.
Good.
Yeah. You're not like the one that's the big one sitting in the corner.
One of those cocktail onions.
Yeah, you're just a cocktail onion. Everybody likes it, drops it in there, it's good. You're not the big one that makes everybody cry.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That does make me feel a little better because I really, with the success of the YouTube stuff I got going and everything, I do worry about peaking, and I worry about repeating myself too much in terms of compositions and work, which I definitely do, but I try to let that run its course and not force myself out of it. But I definitely worry about, maybe this is as good as I'm ever going to get, or maybe, this is as much as I'm ever going to enjoy it, or maybe this is as much as anyone's ever going to care about it. And I hope that's not the case, because one of the things I've always loved about photography and pursuing it as a career is I'm not looking forward to retirement. I have no desire
I'm right
to
there
retire.
with you.
So it'll just be in a different form, I'm sure. Maybe I'll go back to teaching more or something, something that's fun but not super high pressure. But
it's just going to take me longer to take pictures. That's how I look at
exactly.
it. I'll still be making them, but I'm just going to take longer.
I'm down with that too.
Yeah.
I might get away with more photos too if I'm a,
right. You're 75
nondescript
in
old
slippers.
man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, Grandpa.
A building owner isn't going to yell at me for taking a picture of the building this time. Yeah.
It's just old Nick out there.
Yeah, so I think it's probably going to be mostly good years ahead. But
well, you touched that third rail. Let's talk about YouTube, because I said that's how I discovered you.
Yeah.
Like a K-pop star.
But more handsome.
More handsome, and way taller. How did you come about, like, I'm going to dive into YouTube?
Ben Horn is a YouTuber who does large format stuff. He does all 8x10. I saw him do some of his on location stuff where he calls them, video logs or vlogs or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was really cool. It was fun to watch and looked like it might be fun to make them. So, when I go out and do like a camping thing solo, there's a lot of time to kill because you're by yourself. You're just waiting for light and everything. So I thought it might be a good way to fill the time. So I tried it out.
Did you have any experience? Like,
no.
To watch Ben do it and then say, like, I think I'm going to go out with a video camera and a microphone.
I didn't think it would be anywhere as good as his, and they're still not anywhere as good as his.
Did you have a video camera, or did you have to go get one?
I got a Canon Rebel. I was doing the DSLR video method for a while, which is a royal pain in the ass, and I gave that up pretty quick.
Right.
But
microphone, or did you go shotgun?
Luckily, my brother, with his audio expertise, he talked me into what type of microphone. I was originally just doing a task cam attached to the top of the camera, kind of like a shotgun mic.
Right, yep.
Then eventually went up to a lav mic and got so irritated with my Canon Rebel that I got a video camera, like a dedicated video camera. Pathetic little thing. It's a Canon X820. It's just an old Disneyland camcorder, you know.
Right.
But it works really well for what I'm doing. The depth of field's huge, which is
what you need, right?
Yeah, which is what I need for run and gun type stuff. And
you're not doing cinema.
Yeah, and it's got XLR inputs for audio and external controls for the volume.
Right.
And, really good autofocus. So it fits the bill really well for me. But I am the first one to acknowledge it. It's pretty basic equipment. And I try and lean much more on the storytelling side of it and the editing side of it than the visuals.
Okay.
So, I was going to do sliders and drones and all the kind of fancy stuff, but it doesn't work well for me when I'm out there.
Oh,
I'm
God.
spread so thin. And
you need to carry a trailer behind the truck.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how guys like Ben do it. I mean, his visuals are just incredible, way better. And a lot of guys do drone stuff and all that, and I haven't been able to get myself to do it. It's enough. It's frustrating enough as it is to make the videos that I just can't put anything else in there that's going to make it more frustrating. So,
all right, now, so who taught you the back end post production work? Because that is a lot of work.
My brother kind of got me started on that because he does the video production.
Okay.
But a lot of
Final Cut or iMovie, or what'd you do? Start off.
I think I kind of went right into Premiere.
Okay, Premiere. So you dived into, kept into the Adobe ecosystem.
Yeah, maybe unfortunately, but just because you're roped in,
right? You're in. Yeah.
But
it's like, okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so you can't really leave it. But he kind of got me started on that, and I would learn a little bit here and there on YouTube or whatever. But my editing is so simplistic. It's pretty much just cut here, cut there, overlay the audio, and that's about it. That I was able to kind of fudge my way through it and make enough mistakes that I think they're pretty good now. They could be better, but the editing I think is the main part.
They've grown. I've seen them because during the thing, my wife thought like I was stalking, but you have to put it on a loop and just let it go. And I went from beginning to end, and it was just like you could see the growth over 7. It's funny to watch you grow in a week. I watched them all. It's like watching you grow in 7 years.
Also, I post every 3 months, so it's like you go through 7 years pretty quick.
Yeah, but still, it's like, haircut? No, no hair on the face, beard.
Yeah.
Oh, we're dressed up today. Oh, now we're wearing a T-shirt. Oh, here we are in the office.
I grew literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, like you did. Somebody's lifting weights.
Yeah. Went through my fedora phase.
Yes, your fedora. The whole thing. Ooh, we're wearing a tie.
And now it's permanent on the internet.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
It could be worse.
It could be.
Yeah.
Not much.
It's not on TMZ. But it was good to see the growth in the actual, like, the shooting style, how you were editing. You were, it was linear. It was great. I mean, I thought for somebody who's going to dive in, you did a good job.
Oh, thanks.
Because it can be frightening.
Yeah,
right? Did you have any idea? Like, did you storyboard your first one, or just go, let's see what happens?
It's mostly let's see what happens, but I try and have a storyboard going in my head as I'm going along. So I'll have shots in mind of like, this would be a good way to bridge that scene to this scene. So I'll do that when I get out there. This would be a good way to start it. So I'll have little ideas here and there, but I try and let it go organically because...
is that easier to keep the log in your head of what I'm doing?
Yeah, and it's kind of the way it has to go because so many of the photos I do, I have a plan to do it a certain way and it falls apart. I mean, it almost always falls apart. So I have to kind of roll with it. I may have a storyboard of I'll scout it this day and then I'll go shoot it this day. But then when I go to shoot it, the lights aren't on that I need it on. And so I got to come back and do it. But I already filmed me going there. So should I include that as part of the failure of the shoot, So I kind of have to take it as it comes. And I really try and trim the fat as much as possible. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when I watch a video on YouTube is someone who's rambling or explaining why they're making a video. And it's like, this thing could have been 5 minutes and you made it 15.
Right.
I thought I'd make a video because a lot of you guys are asking about this video. Like, all that kind of stuff. Nothing gets me to click to the next video faster. So I try and avoid stuff like that. And again, I know I keep bringing up low self-esteem, but it's actually served me pretty well in a lot of the instances. I'm convinced no one wants to watch the videos. They're doing me a favor by watching them. So I got to keep their attention as best I can, and I got to give them something worth watching. So I've even had on location videos where I filmed the whole thing, and the story was so boring that I just don't bother.
Oh,
like the story's boring, the pictures aren't that good, so I'm like, screw it. I'm just not going to do it.
You've seen YouTube. There is garbage out there, and you're worried about...
I don't want to be those people.
You're not close. You're not... Good. We could go down a rabbit hole of garbage. You know?
That's definitely true.
Jimmy from South Carolina cleaning his lawnmower, showing how to sharpen it.
And it's probably got 16 million views.
16 million views because...
Mine's got 16K. So.
Right. Yeah. So, and then you just wonder, like, gosh, I guess I should go shirtless, put on 80 pounds, and sharpen a lawnmower engine or whatever.
Yeah, that might be good for my channel.
Right. I mean, to see what gets views is amazing on YouTube.
Oh, it's always entertaining to me.
So
it's a little glimpse into the psyche of humans. You get a sense of what people are really interested in without having to ask anybody.
Right.
It's all in the numbers, what actually shows up.
Yeah.
And you find out that everyone has the same concerns you do, the same questions you do, and the same interests you do.
Yeah.
It's really funny. But
and you never know what's going to hit.
Yeah, you never know.
Are you surprised if you put one out and you go, this is a good one? And then...
Okay, perfect example. The one I most recently posted, which is taking pictures in Fullerton.
Yes.
So I did Donut Shop. And, I finished that video and I posted it, and I was basically depressed the first few hours after I posted. I was telling my wife, I'm like, it sucks. It's terrible. People are going to hate it. And it was a waste of time. That one actually has the highest rate of upvotes to downvotes of any of my videos. So evidently, I have a horrible gauge of what people are going to like.
A damn.
Yeah, I can't. So I have to just remember that I don't know, and then just put out what I think is good in the moment, and then people will decide.
I'm going to tell you right now, your advantage is your personality. It comes across very well.
Thank you.
Right. It's not, I don't know where you're getting this low self-esteem thing. The medicine's kicking in when you're on the shoot, but it comes across as genuine. It's fun. It's humorous. Like you're likable. And
Thank you.
that was the thing that caught me when I was watching the one Joshua Tree, because there's lots of a bazillion videos on, me going to Joshua Tree. And there's some that are way better produced videos than yours. They got the drone illegally in there. They're doing whatever. They're shooting backlit, whatever. And you're like, you're a total douche.
Lots of slow-mo.
Yeah, you're a douche. I am not watching you. You can't take a picture. I'm looking at you and you're like, you don't know what you're doing. You slapdick. Get out of here. Down, give you the dislike, and I'm not even going to subscribe. Yours came across this goober knows what he's doing. I like this kid.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me because I...
So that's the donut shop.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know for sure. I mean, I think most people are probably a bad gauge of their own, how they come across to people. But I've been pleasantly surprised over and over again by how many people are willing to watch the videos. I'm sure for everyone who likes my personality infused to the videos, there's probably one or two who hate it and they just keep walking. But that's fine, and I don't care.
And good actually.
And luckily, I don't depend on YouTube for income.
No,
and I keep it that way because I don't want to have to manipulate the way I do things. Mm-hmm. I'm planning on doing a video coming up soon. I already filmed it. I just got to edit it. It's probably going to appeal to no joke, maybe half a dozen people in the entire world because it's a particular repair on a particular camera that if you don't even have the problem, it doesn't matter to you. But I'm going to put it out because if I came across the video, it would have been hugely helpful. So I'm going to do it.
You know that's going to be the biggest one, right? Because because here's the thing. You don't even realize how many people have that camera.
That's
and they're
true.
like, I just need to fix this damn thing, and I don't even know where to get the part.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So this watch, I'm wearing this Timex Ironman watch. I bought it before there was any reviews, and I couldn't find a review on it. So I'm like, I'm going to do a stupid review and post it on YouTube. It's got 10,000 reviews. Timex reached out to me because they didn't even have a video.
Awesome.
I don't know if they thought it was just going to be some throw in the wind.
Yeah.
And they reached out to me and were like, oh, we really like you as an influencer. Would you like to review some more of our watches?
Yeah.
I was like,
that's awesome.
I did it just so the next guy could figure out if he likes the watch or not. that could be that with that broken part.
Well, I think that's kind of the key to the success that I've had is I'm not really trying to get free product. I'm not trying to. In fact, I get probably 3 emails a day of companies trying to get me to do a video for a product. Yeah, the Hasselblad. That was one of the only ones that I agreed to do. And
because you look like you were the first time you ever held a baby. You were scared to death to touch the thing.
That's like holding my car.
Right. Yes.
That thing's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was fun to do. And even that, I had this way overly thought out moral dilemma of like, should I do this? It's like, yeah, just do it. Who cares? Yeah. But I didn't want my channel to become that, or I didn't want to become a camera review channel or anything like, along those lines. So,
I think you have a good variable.
Yeah, I try and just do what's interesting to me at the moment.
You spent the summer as an alcoholic drinking on the couch, so I mean, that's fine.
It's COVID, man. What else can you do?
I mean, put on 15 and drink like a drunken sailor. I mean, you've got to be flexible.
That whole series is actually a perfect example of people either absolutely love it or they hate it with a passion. So, and I keep making it because I do it for the people who love it.
Right, and that's what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until it becomes like 99% and only your mother likes it, then you put the brakes on.
Yeah, even then I might still do it because I keep...
That's going to turn into a drinking show.
Because every time I post a video, I'm certain it's the one where everyone's going to unsubscribe from me. I feel like I'm going to let everybody down. So, I mean...
you can't look at the likes and dislikes and the subscribes.
It's hard not to.
I know. That'll drive you nuts.
It's hard not to. I try to be like, I tell people the same thing. Like, you can't look at that stuff. But then I'm looking at it and like, someone leaves a shitty comment. I'm just like replying and then refreshing. Right. It's like, it's not helping.
Because you've done some art shows, right? Where you got art. It would be like putting a wireless mic up and listening to what people said to your work. Like, I like the lines on this. It's very beautiful.
It'd be like putting up a wireless mic that reads their brain.
Right. And then you got the one where like, this guy. He wants how much for this? Come on, honey. Let's go over
there. And I could have...
I like the dolphins in the water shot better.
I like that Wyland painting of it.
Oh, Jesus.
That's a little local humor for the Orange County.
Yes.
The way my brain works is, I mean, I could get 1,000 positive comments, but that one will just eat away at me.
You got to stop listening or looking at the missing tile.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a good way to put it, missing tile. Yeah. I know.
Because
I try and be better at it.
1,000 people think, nice job, kid.
Yeah, I know, and that's incredible, and that's awesome. And I've met so many people in person. I was in Sacramento visiting my friend, and a guy there who worked at the restaurant I went to recognized me, and he's told me how much he loved my videos. It was like the best thing in the world to have that happen.
Right.
That's a billion times more powerful than the one guy who said, "Oh, lame pictures."
Yeah.
But when I read that picture of the lame pictures, it's like, dude, I put all this work into this thing. And even if you're right, like, can you word it different at least? Look
at it this way. He might have wanted to hit like and just slipped and hit dislike and didn't know. Okay? And then if he says lame pictures about the donut shop, you just reply back, I'm a diabetic. Whatever. Just go screw yourself.
It's funny on that donut shop, the shop actually re-Instagrammed the video that I made.
Yeah.
And they liked it and everything.
Right.
And I was like giddy. I'm like, oh my God, they like my pictures. It's just this little happy little donut shop, local Fullerton thing. And I'm like, oh my God.
What was it? Sunny Crest? What is it?
Sweet-O Donuts.
Sweet-O Donuts, yeah.
And they're good people, man. A lot of people might have been like, you took a picture of our shop and you owe us money.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
They were happy to see it. It's pretty cool.
Now, I love the fact that, like, you get irritated by someone's quality of light in their shop. Like, oh, they just don't have enough powerful light bulbs, or if they daylight or tungsten I got to work with.
It's a curse.
Right. Like, that's the photographer in you. Like, regular Joe's like, it looks fine. You're like, no.
Yeah.
Their 12 luminous bulb is not cutting it for me.
Yeah, it goes so far as to, in my apartment complex, there's this apartment I walk by to get from my garage to my apartment, and they installed, evidently, LEDs throughout the whole house, but they did the cool white. So at night, it looks like a fishbowl. And I actually get, like, mad. I'm like, how does that not bother them? Like,
you want more warmth?
How does that? Yeah, it's got to be warm at night. You're messing up your circadian rhythms. Like, $3,200K, man. But like, it's such a photographer thing to get pissed about because, like,
Right.
what do I care? They're fine with it apparently. But
Don't come to my house. My kitchen for my wife, because I'm like, trust me, this will be better. The kitchen is completely daylight bound, super bright, so like you can't screw up anything because she's a really good cook. So she wants to make sure her pie crust is right.
Yeah.
But the rest of the house is all this just glowing warm. And
see, that makes sense because that's a preparation room.
Right.
It's like a surgery room.
Right.
Makes sense. But in your living room, come on, you gotta get those circadian rhythms kicking in with a little bit of warm light.
But when that's the only lights on in the house and you walk by, you're like, what the hell is going on in there? Just big white war.
Does he have a clean room in his house?
Silkwood. I'm just scrubbing down people. That's brutal. But you've done a really good job with YouTube.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Are you enjoying it?
I do enjoy it. I mean, that's kind of why I keep doing it. It also, I mean, it feeds part of my business with funneling people to my online courses.
Right.
So that's definitely a part of it. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But yeah, I do enjoy it. It's a weird love-hate relationship, though, because almost every time I do an on-location video, I get halfway through it or even 10 minutes into it, and I'm like, I'm never doing another one of these ever again because I get so frustrated with the video camera and trying to take pictures and getting the audio right and having to do double shots because I needed both angles.
Right.
It's just
Coming
me.
and going.
Coming and going. And that gets so frustrating that I get so mad and I'm like, I'm never doing this ever again. And then I get back to my computer and I start editing it and it starts coming together and it's creating a really cool story and all the hard work is
Creative
kind
juices.
of turning into something. And then I finish the video. I'm like, I can't wait to go do the next one. So the finished product is really what keeps me going on it. But admittedly, when I'm doing it, I hate it. And I feel like I'm pulling my hair out half the time. But the finished product is enough to keep me going on it.
I think you touch on things just enough, like when you're talking about the time period, that they're interesting. They're like, I love the ones with the build out on the truck, and then like, what do I take to the truck?
Another one of those ones that's surprisingly successful.
Right, because people, I think because you've lifted up the pant leg enough and shown a little ankle. Now people want to know, like, let's see a little more. Let's talk about this truck.
My sweet hairy ankle with the sock tan.
Right, they want to see the truck. We've seen you in the truck. Let's talk about the truck. How did the truck get there? Where do you sleep? Where do you stick your refrigerator? Whatever.
Yeah.
That becomes interesting.
Yeah, it's good to hear from people when I hear they like seeing that stuff, because I would like to do more videos that are kind of photography adjacent and not directly photography.
Right.
But I never know if that's going to turn people off that have been supporting me. So I try to reel it in when I can. But
Where was the one where you went, you're on location, and then within the same video, you drove to like the dunes or something, like you left? Was that something where you're like, okay, this is going to be a long 2 or 3 day shoot and I got to like prep that out?
that might have been the one where I was shooting New 55.
Okay.
I started in Joshua Tree, had a bunch of failures, and then I drove all through the night to some sand dunes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where the 55 was kicking your ass.
Yeah.
With the,
Yeah. Yeah, that
that
video
was a good side of you. Watch frustration.
Some people, I think many people were very happy to see the failures and that everybody fails.
Right.
Some people took that as me exposing my jugular so they could sink their teeth in a little deeper. Hey, you do suck. You are an idiot. But yeah, that video was fun because that was a brand new experience for me. I mean, I'd never shot that film before, and I videoed me doing it the very first time. So it was risky. And
Do you love it? Do you like that film?
yeah, that one was the New 55 film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a
Oh, that's right.
divisive
Weren't you
film,
attacked
I'd
by
say.
bees?
Yeah,
Was
I
that the attack by bees?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was intense. Funny
Only
enough,
a photographer could say that. To being attacked by bees was intense. Guys from National Geographic are like, really? Really?
well, when you're trying to agitate a negative in some fixer at just that moment, it's a little intense.
I had a rhino up my ass and you're worried about a bee.
Yeah, fair enough. It wasn't super intense, but in the moment, it felt like a lot to deal with.
Yeah. Well, there were multiple. You were outnumbered.
Yeah, I was outnumbered by a lot. Yeah, that film is really fun. It's kind of a divisive film because people compare it to Polaroid, PN
Right.
55. It's a completely different film. It's not even really a fair comparison. because
Yeah, not at all.
the old Polaroid film can't be made anymore.
No.
So many of the chemicals are unobtainable or they're illegal or something. So,
Right. Both, yes.
Yeah. So New 55, you know, by way of its name, you're going to naturally, and its general process, you're going to compare it to it. But
The look, yeah.
yeah, but
the peel.
Yep. And so I would get a lot of people commenting like, "Oh, the Polaroid peel apart looked way better." And it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, of course it did. The older Polaroids that came out of your SX70 looked way better back then
Right.
too. They had to figure out a lot of stuff, and it's actually miraculous that they figured out how to do this, given the chemistry that we have accessible now. But you know, New 55 is still relatively new. They're working on improving the contact print and all that.
Did they contact you or what?
Yeah, I've talked to Sam Heiser quite a bit after
Okay.
that. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He actually reached out to give me some tips on, you know, how I could avoid some of the mistakes I made, and gave me a lot of background on how the film works and all that.
Are you going to integrate into that more into your fine art?
Yeah, I mean, when I get the itch to do it, I dive deep into it, but they're kind of few and far between that I get the
Okay.
itch. But when I do have the itch, it's the perfect medium for it. The most recent one I did was with New 55, where I was photographing some feathers and a bison skull. Like, that was the perfect film for what I had envisioned on that, because I wanted something gritty with the dripping border and, you know, all that.
Again, another learning experience.
Yeah.
The feather.
Yep.
Right. We
Yeah.
almost watched you all get taken off into federal court.
That one was really upsetting because I was really proud of that video. And then when a couple people pointed out that, yeah, it's illegal to have hawk feathers.
I would have not known that.
The thing is, very few people do, but
We have
that's...
hawks all over Fullerton.
I know, I see feathers all the time.
There's a female, I don't know what kind of hawk, I don't want to sound like a jackass, but she's a hawk. She owns Cal State Fullerton Soccer Stadium. She sits up on the light towers and she kills everything.
Yeah, that's her perch.
She'll dive over at practice, at soccer practices. If you run the stadium, she's always all over the place. That woman's dropping feathers all over the place. So if you're telling me I pick one of those up,
Yeah.
I got to like put it in a enclosed capsule and ship it off to
I
some
know.
federal agency.
It's crazy. Well, it's funny is you're supposed to leave it exactly where it is. It's like so someone else can get it.
Well, so
But-
groundskeeper runs over it on the grass?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
He's not picking it up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get why the law's there, because the only way you can prevent people from killing them without you knowing is to make it completely illegal to even trade their parts. Because, I mean,
I didn't know that was an issue.
Yeah,
I didn't know
well-
people were going out.
the idea is that if someone went out and hunted a red-tailed hawk to get the
Right.
feathers, and then they're selling them on eBay, they could say, yeah, we find these feathers all the time on our property, but they're actually killing
Right.
hawks. So the only way they can really stop it is to say, nah, you can't even trade them.
Can't touch them.
But I'll tell you a funny story about the hawk thing. So I did the feathers. I did the whole video. Found out it was illegal. I was devastated. I took the video down, and then decided to repost it with that intro that basically said it's illegal. Don't do this. And then make sure I didn't make any money from it, so I don't sell prints of that stuff or whatever.
Sent it to the Red Hawk Foundation of Rehabilitation.
Yeah, I sent a donation, and I called the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, told them what I did, and all that kind of thing. But
You're such
funny,
a good
I was-
person.
Well, a lot of it's liability, you know.
It is.
It's like
It is.
I'm on YouTube. If someone just doesn't like the cut of my jib, or they don't like my
Right.
my personality, or whatever, they could call and report me, whatever.
Sure. You could do meth on YouTube, but you can't touch a feather. I understand.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was so like trying to do the right thing. I was so worried about it, and then like I don't know, 2 weeks later, I went to the grocery store, and there was this woman behind me who was this kind of weird hippy dippy, seemed like she was on something,
no.
kind of out there kind of lady. And I got my groceries and left and kind of gave a look to the cashier, like, good luck with this one. And then as I'm leaving, she gets on her bike and she has a basket on the front, and there's feathers all attached to it. She's been collecting these things and probably puts them in her hair half the time.
Right.
And I'm like this
Yeah.
good Samaritan
She's got a
trying
roach
to.
clip and she's smoking weed off in the evening. Please. Come on.
Laws only apply to law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
That's what I've learned.
Yeah,
So,
people on YouTube, not women on bikes.
Yeah, right.
Jesus. That's what terrifies you.
Yeah.
Well, you touched on a little bit on the format. What drove you to dive into 617? That's not a shape normal to photographers.
Yeah. It just seems so unique to me.
That's a check. Yep.
Yeah.
617 is.
And so it seemed like a cool challenge. It just seemed like it might be kind of fun. But I think also just the cinematic connection to it, the kind of Tarantino ultra wide stuff that he would do on like Hateful Eight.
Right.
Things
Lawrence
like
of Arabia, something like that.
Yeah. That's just very, it just has a look, and it's so, I don't know, it's so
it stands
fitting
out. It stands
to
out.
what I like to shoot too. I mean, like the desert, I would go out to the desert. Yeah, and I'm shooting 4x5, and it's like I need to find a great foreground if I'm going to do 4x5.
Right.
Because it's such a squared off rectangle that there's going to be a lot of foreground or a lot of sky.
Right.
So I need to find a really good foreground.
Right. You have to find that element to anchor it.
Mm-hmm. But I was really only interested in stuff that was kind of off on the horizon. And so I needed to get rid of the top, get rid of the bottom. So the panoramic format fit that really well. And, the more I shot it, the more I started seeing compositions in 6x17 that would be really cool.
Where'd you dive in and decide, like, this camera, this one? Did you do some research?
I had a 4x5 that I still have, and I wanted to try 6x17, so I got the roll film back, so the 6x17 adapter for a 4x5, and it just attaches with the graph lock attachment.
I've never used that. How is it?
The graph lock attachment, or just the roll film?
That roll film on that 4.5 that gives you 6.17.
It's decent. It has very specific limitations. One of them being that you have a separate viewer that you have to attach and a separate roll.
Yes, okay.
So it's a lot of things to juggle. And it sounds like a small thing, but the fact that I had two devices that I had to put onto the back of my camera alternating, like my backpack would be a little too far away, and I was annoyed that I had to go walk over and grab it, and little inconveniences like that. But the bigger issue is you're very limited on the focal lengths you can use with it.
Why is that?
So you can't use focal lengths that are super short because the bellows can't compress enough. Because the roll film back is probably 2 to 3 inches further away than the 4x5 film plane. So the bellows has to compress a lot. So the widest I could really go was 90 millimeters, and that was with a recessed board. So if I went to any shorter focal lengths, the bellows would compress too much. There would be no movements, and it probably wouldn't even be able to focus.
Okay.
So that's on the low end. On the high end, I couldn't use focal lengths longer than about 180 millimeters, 210. And that can seem kind of weird to people because as long as the bellows extends enough, shouldn't you be able to use anything? But it's because the 4x5 back is clipping the image circle because it's so much smaller than 6x17. So the lens has to be relatively close to the film for the angle of the light to get past the 4x5 opening. So, and I had started picturing all these compositions where I wanted to do a longer focal length, so like a 300 millimeter. And I knew I wouldn't be able to do it on that. So I kind of started shopping around for a dedicated 6x17. The main go-to is always the Fuji GX 617.
Right.
Which is like probably the coolest looking camera on the planet, in my opinion. It's especially in someone's hands, because it looks a certain size when you see a picture of it by itself, and then you see it in someone's hands. It's like, holy shit, that thing's huge.
Yeah. You sure that's a camera?
Yeah. That's a piece of furniture. And it's got like the bars that go out from the lens. It's just so cool. It's awesome looking camera. But those things are $8,000, with a lens, and then it's only got like 4 lenses.
Yeah, there's only a select lenses. Yeah.
So it felt kind of limiting, but the main issue was it's got a separate viewfinder. You're not looking at the ground glass because it's more of a traditional style camera. Right. So I wouldn't be able to do movements, shifting, rising, falling, any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to do any Scheimpflug or any of that kind of tilting stuff. And I wouldn't be able to use split ND filters, really, because you can't see where the transition is.
That's true.
Because it's all viewfinder.
It's viewfinder that's not happening.
Yeah. So then I came across the Shenhouse 6x17s, and the one I picked out is perfect. It's got all the movements I need. It's got rise fall on the lens. It's got rise on the film standard. It's got all the tilts and shifts and all that kind of stuff. So, and I absolutely love that camera. I will use that thing as long as it will have me.
Where'd you find it?
There's a store called Badger Graphic, which I think is in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And they specialize in some kind of strange cameras like that. I mean, they're a regular camera store,
Right.
but they also have
But they collect those
kind of the more large format
off
stuff. And
the beat.
And I had looked at it, and it was, I don't know, $1,800 or something. And that was a king's ransom to me at the time. I wouldn't be able to get it.
Sure.
So I was saving up. And then I looked, I don't know, 6 months later, and it had gone up to like $2,500. And then so
Whoa.
I reached out to him. I'm like, dude, this went way up in price. He's like, yeah, it's probably going to go up again soon. So you may want to get it now. Because I guess Shenhao was just kind of raising prices on them. So, and it's all special order.
Jesus.
Yeah. So he...
If you thought 18 was expensive, then
Yeah.
it's all of a sudden, oh, boy.
Yeah. I don't think it's gone much up in price since I bought it, but I love that camera. It's so cool. I mean, to compose...
How's the quality of glass?
I have quite a variety. I have mostly Nikkor large format lenses,
Okay.
and those are great. They're tack sharp. Especially like the 210, very, very sharp. It's kind of like medium format 35 millimeter. The normal focal lengths tend to be sharpest.
Right.
So the 150 and the 210 are very, very
Or
sharp.
just rock.
The wide angles, a little less sharp. I have
Those corners get a little mushy.
Yeah, I mean, luckily large format lenses have such a giant image circle that you actually don't get too much softening at the corners. It's just kind of the image overall might not be quite as sharp. Like my 115, which is a Rodin stock, that one's not quite as sharp as I would maybe like it to be, but it's a wide angle, so it's kind of to be expected.
Right. Is that you being a little aware of it, but not the regular Joe?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I am very lax on the whole how many megapixels you need and how much sharpness you really need. I think the image overall is much more important, and that people get, I think, too hung up on sharpness sometimes. So I try not to let it bug me. The only thing about the wide angle lenses on that system is they all have quite a bit of distortion because they have such a giant image circle, and I'm using a pretty big negative.
Right.
So if you're doing landscapes, doesn't matter really. But I'm shooting so many buildings that often towards the edges, they'll be a little bit pin cushioned in. So I'll often use the just the liquefy tool in Photoshop to push them back out.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get it more straight. But for the most part, I mean, it's all large format stuff, which is so great because the lenses are all cross compatible. You just need the right board. So, I can get Schneider or Rodenstock or whatever, and just got to get the board for it, and it's ready to go.
Anchor it in.
Yeah, and as long as it's got a big enough image circle, which
That's
6x17 needs pretty big, but not like 8x10 does. So,
how important has social media been to you lately to help push your business, get your views, get people to your classes?
It's been a really
Fine
good
art, right?
Yeah, that too. I mean, prints are never a big part
But
of.
you want to sell them.
Oh, love to.
You'll
Any
take
excuse
it.
to
Someone
make
knocks
a
on
print.
the door, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to have someone buy a big 6-foot wide print that's in Texas recently, and I got to, go through that whole process, which I love because I love making the prints and I love seeing them, but I can't store them all. So
Right.
gotta have someone
It
buy
is a
them.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, printing is. I mean, I've made several videos on my passion for printing, and when I put those out, I was convinced nobody's going to get this, no one's going to care, and I'm just speaking to an empty room here.
Right.
But I'm so passionate about it that I ended up just making the video anyway, and those have been my most popular videos. They're actually the most watched.
Yeah.
So I think printing really.
Thank God you don't listen to your inner ear.
I know my inner ear's kind of an idiot.
Yeah, he's got to
I'm learning.
slap him a little bit and get his ass straight.
Stop listening to myself.
Yeah.
like that episode- like
no
that episode of
donut shops.
Seinfeld.
Yeah. No donut shops, no printing, no truck.
Yeah, I got to pull a George Costanza and do the exact opposite of whatever my inclination is, and then I'll be successful.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Are
did
you
those.
active though on Twitter or Instagram or?
Just Instagram.
Okay.
I have a Facebook just because you have to if you want to run ads on
Right.
Instagram and stuff like that. So, but I haven't checked Facebook in years.
But you use Instagram as your biggest wielding
that's the
hammer.
main one. And that's largely because it's simple enough for my simple brain, and I can very
Quick and easy.
Quick and easy, and I mean, I like sharing pictures. I don't
I mean, you got a shout out from the donut shop.
Doing something right.
Shit, I haven't gotten that one yet. And they're in my town.
I hear the lady who runs the place is a sweetheart. She evidently is, because she was nice enough to retweet it.
All right. Might have to take a road trip down there and get some maple bars.
Support Sweeto Donuts if you're in Fullerton. Yeah, so Instagram's been good. I try and do it in such a way that it's self-fulfilling more than anything. So, I'll post some stuff mentioning sales. Like I just posted about my Black Friday sale for online courses, and that was great for getting the word out. But mostly I just like looking at, film photography memes and, funny feeds, and then just as a way to post pictures. I found there's not much way to get people to look at your photos other than like Instagram and YouTube for me. So if I take pictures where I didn't do a video about it, then Instagram's a great way to share them with people and kind of get their feedback.
Pass that message across, right?
Yeah. It's been great too. Like people ask questions about technique, and I can do a little Instagram post about it, and it's a nice way to put little snippets out there, just kind of answering people's questions, and it's been good for that. But it can very quickly become toxic, especially for me, if I follow the wrong things. And, I'm such an unfollower now. I have an itchy trigger finger on that. And that's how I want it. It's good. If someone posts something that is even the remotest, like, dude, shut up. Like, I just unfollow them.
Gone.
Yeah.
Jettison.
Political opinions or something like that. I'm like, dude, get out of my feed. I
don't need that.
This is an escape for me. I want to look at cool cameras and funny photography jokes and stuff like that. So, so that's been good. But the YouTube has really fed everything else. So that's been the main source of getting my name out there.
Do you have any long-term projects you're working on?
I'm working on another online course right now. So in terms of long-term, that'll be a few months.
How about something with a camera in your hand?
Something with a camera in my hand?
Is there a tree or a rock or a mountain you must photograph, or a
there's
valley?
I got a few things in mind. There's a town in kind of deep southern deserts of California that I want to shoot.
Okay.
And just kind of, post up there for 3 days and shoot a bunch of different buildings around there. There's this place I've been meaning to check out in Anza-Borrego Desert forever that I think could be really cool for 6x17 and 4x5. Just need to get out there.
I think some of your videos have actually got people to go out and do stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
like, I want to go see this spot or that spot, or, oh, my God, I didn't know about the pumpkins or the mountains or the tree, whatever.
Yeah. I've had quite a few people send me pictures of their take on Houston's liquor. So the liquor store up in Bealton. So that's kind of cool. People said, hey, stop by that liquor store, and took a picture, and it's kind of cool seeing people's different variations on it. So, it's cool.
You're touching people in the right way.
Yeah, a few people. Yeah, not in the Me Too way. But,
right, but in the photography way. Just zeros and ones. That's all it is.
Keep it digital.
Yeah.
It's been cool, man. People have really reached out to me from all over the world just telling me, I've had several people tell me that they picked up a film camera because of my videos, and or they picked up a film camera again, after many, many years because of my videos, which is one of my favorite things to hear, because I think film photography is a great community, and I want to grow it. So that's been really nice.
You said the world, and I giggled because the father in me had this immediate impact when you did the video about Paris. And the coming home, and I was like, I feel for him. That's a rough kind of experience.
Everybody loves a good shit story.
Yeah, everybody loves it. Just can't get out of my way kind of stuff.
That was rough, man.
But those are good stories to tell people. Those are fun to again, lift up the pant leg, show a little ankle, and be like, yeah, we're all human. It's fun. Hey, don't take shit so serious.
Yeah, it's been fun to share those, because sometimes they're funny to me, but who am I going to share it with? And this
Your wife
is a
was
nice
there,
avenue
so
for it. Yeah, she was there, and it wasn't so funny to her. So it's cool to share those, and I've been surprised at how many people kind of hearing those videos.
Been there,
yeah.
I know exactly that trash can. What's the future look like? What's 10 years? What's your roadmap?
Man, I tend to not think that far ahead anymore. I'm kind of just letting it
10 weeks,
let
10
it
hours?
take me where it goes. I'll say this: maybe 3 years. Let's say.
Okay.
I'd like to have a more robust online course offering stuff that's kind of more aligns with what I'm interested in teaching. I'd love to do a course on composition. I'd love to do a course on the one I'm working on right now is for large format photography. I'd love to do one on scanning. So it'd be nice to have some of those out there.
Can never have enough drum scanning videos.
If I knew how to drum scan, I would. But yeah, this will be like how to scan at home. But I got to learn more a bit before I tackle that course. Shooting wise, I just hope my work keeps getting better. I'm always, I'm always feel like I'm staring down the barrel of stalling or hitting a plateau and then having to tackle that. So as long as I keep enjoying it, I think I'll be all right. But I just really don't want to hit another slump. So, 3 years from now, as long as I'm still putting out videos and still shooting buildings and money's still coming in the door, I think I'll be happy.
All right. If a budget was not in the card, someone gave you a black American Express and said, go shoot what you want, what would you do?
Oh, man.
And you don't need to make a video and shoot the coming and going of the truck.
Yeah.
Just go make here's a project. Go.
Yeah. I think a lot of the things I would want to go photograph, a lot of that budget might need to be used for security or something.
Okay.
Like I'd love to go all around Mexico and take pictures around there, even the CD parts.
Yes.
And
because you don't see it.
Yeah, because you don't see it.
Have you been much into Mexico to see it with your eyes?
No, not really. But I see pictures of Mayan ruins and stuff like that. I'd love to do something like that. But even just,
you're right on the security because you definitely would need it.
Yeah, if I got a bunch of camera gear and I'm shooting some roadside gas station or whatever.
You need 2 armed guards and a guy with a bazooka.
Right. And that would be a lot of fun. I feel like many parts of Mexico are probably kind of like maybe the Old West 50 years ago. Or not, and I don't mean Old West, I mean the West 50 years ago, where it's a little less populated, a little fewer rules. It's not, it's not 1800s Old West, but it's got some little more grit to it, a little more.
I think there's a lot of parts of Mexico that are still very, I don't want to say untouched, but not frequently touched.
Yeah.
Right, like the Sierras, but 150 years ago.
Yeah. Natural areas too, for sure. But I'm picturing even, shops and buildings and all sorts of stuff down there would be a lot of fun to shoot. That would be a lot of fun. That the Mayan ruins, any of that kind of stuff. I love kind of the whole Central American vibe and South American vibe, even though I've never really been to those areas. I love the food. I love kind of the culture and all that, and there's a lot to see. Europe, I think there's a lot to shoot that I would like to shoot, but Europe feels so evolved to me now. Or evolved's not the right word. That even sounds disparaging to Mexico. Yeah, it feels redone and it feels gentrified, even though they got a lot of old buildings. Like it's a, bustling modern society with modern laws and modern this and modern that. And that isn't to say there isn't anything to shoot. It just might kind of feel like I'm just shooting the USA again.
Yeah. You can go to Honduras, though, and you could be, like, fresh.
Yeah, and there could be some stuff that just no one's put eyes on yet. And that would be a lot of fun. I think that'd be cool. I mean, I would love to do a more proper on-location video with someone else filming it.
Okay.
Because I think that would be a lot more fun if I didn't have to operate the video camera. And it could be some really interesting, episodes that could check out some cool places, and without having the pressure of doing a video with it, I might be able to make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, because that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time, and if I hit a breaking point where I'm just too frustrated, it's the photos suffer. I mean, it's just not the best arrangement, but it's the only arrangement I can do right now because I'm not going to pay anybody to come shoot it.
No, you don't need to do that.
Yeah,
that gets real expensive.
But I'm kind of fortunate in that I don't really have the itch to go photograph things super far away anymore. You know, I used to think all the good photos were way out there, you know,
Right.
and just far away. And I needed to travel the world and get as far away from where I grew up as possible. And that's where the good photos were. And I've kind of come full circle on that to where I feel maybe the best photos are actually right here. And maybe they're all within a 3-hour drive. You know,
Right.
they seem mundane to me, but that's because I grew up here. And I'm finding from feedback I get, especially from people overseas, that it's really interesting for them to see how life is here and how the deserts of the Southwest are. And most of us just drive through the desert going through Baker feeling like it's just nothing between here and Vegas,
Right.
except, you know, the Mad Greek, and that's all there is. But I see a lot of beauty out there in the desert, and I'm realizing a lot of people who don't experience it very much feel the same way. So
Do you think a little bit of that comes from being in that Irvine tan bubble?
yeah, I've thought a lot about this because it's weird to me how much I wanted to leave when I was younger and how little I want to now. And I think, like anyone when they're young, they don't. I think a lot of people don't like where they grow up just because it feels boring and they want something more interesting. And
Right.
want to go see the world and everything. So I definitely had that. And it was, you know, everything is cookie cutter. Everything's beige. Everything's very manicured. Everything is, you know, it's tract homes. So it's little boxes made of ticky-tacky. It's that kind of vibe. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, when I was growing up, it was boring. So I tend to like things now that are either completely that or completely not that. Like I love grungy old buildings that, you know,
Yeah.
they're not part of a master plan. They're not part of some big conglomerate's retail center that they just dumped $100 million in. Like it was this little building that they put up for a donut shop, and now it's kind of deteriorated a bit, and it's got some other stuff around it that doesn't really jive with it, but it's looking good. So I love stuff like that. I love really good architecture, I think, because I was around so little of it in Irvine.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, I mean, again, nothing against Irvine. It's a great city, but the architecture is nothing. It's
vanilla.
Yeah, it's stucco and it's pseudo Italian, pseudo Tuscan, like but not quite there. And it's like,
Right.
It's just nothing that interesting. So when I see like a beautiful Eichler, like a mid-century modern, you know, masterpiece, like it almost makes me choke up. Like I'm looking at a work of art that I didn't get to be around when I was young. So yeah, I think that upbringing in very suburban kind of cookie cutter environment has shaped a lot of what I like to photograph now.
Especially some of those, I think you photographed one of those gas stations in the middle of the desert. It's all
Yeah.
broken down. They don't look like that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have the two pumps, the overhang, the garage, because it's a mechanic can actually do some work. Now
Yeah.
it's a mini mart with 25 pumps with daylight balance lights,
Yeah, right.
you know, and an LED screen doing the numbers. And you're just like, well, that looks like every one.
Yeah, and it's very corporatized, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, massive.
There's commercials going on the
Yeah,
pump, and there's
right.
selling you product, and you're watching CNN or the Weather Channel. You're just like,
Yeah.
get the goddamn gas out of the car.
Yep. That's probably another part about growing up in Irvine that has shaped that is Irvine doesn't have a whole lot of mom and pop businesses. It's a lot of
Yes,
kind of,
you're right.
You know, massive chains.
Cheesecake
and, you know,
Factory
Yeah,
and
Cheesecake
what-
Factory,
yeah,
two
McDonald's,
Best
right.
Best Buys within a 2-mile radius. You know, it's
Right.
like, it's a lot of that. So when I come across something that's very much a mom and pop business, I'm immediately in love with it because it tells so much more of a human story. And I've never been good at street photography. I've never been good at photojournalism. So it's hard for me to tell human stories in my photography because
Right.
photographing a building generally doesn't tell much of a human story. But if I can photograph Houston's Liquor or 405 Donut or Sweet O Donuts, and just by nature of looking at the building, you can see how much human interaction has gone on over the years in this building. You can see the clutter that's built up. You can see the things that they forgot to clean up. You can see the things that were forgotten about years ago that are now resting against the side wall or whatever. I really like stuff like that because it speaks to that opposite of the Irvine Company vibe, which,
Yes.
I mean, for people who aren't from the area, Irvine Company is a massive privately owned corporation here in Orange County that feels like they own everything. So, I mean, like every retail center, every apartment building, it feels like it's all owned by Irvine Company. And they're just kind of a classic heartless corporation, and I'm not even faulting them for it. They got to make money, whatever. But, it's not a mom and pop joint.
No.
And they don't really cater to mom and pop joints. They cater to the highest bidder when it comes
They
to
want
rent.
a Home Depot. They want In-N-Out. They don't want Earl's Burgers or Jerry's, warehouse.
Yeah, so it's in Irvine. You're never far away from a Home Depot. You're never far away from Chipotle. But if you're looking for a local mom and pop joint, you're probably not going to find it. So I tend to really like seeing those things, especially, out in some desert town where there's just not that many people there in the first place. And you really understand that, like, this business is probably very important for this community.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're maybe not even doing that much business, but they're employing 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. And that's a big percentage of the population of this town. So it's like...
Yeah, that's 17% of the town.
Yeah, exactly. So I tend to gravitate towards those types of structures when I'm taking pictures. Otherwise, it's the pure architecture of the building that I tend to be attracted to. So,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's good to have.
Yeah, and I've kind of fallen into it. I never really set out to photograph buildings and photograph these night scenes that I do so much and everything. I just kind of started shooting pictures of subjects that were interesting to me, and it's largely become those types of subjects. So.
If people want to find your website, what is it?
NickCarverPhoto.com.
Is there art? Is there a fine arts one, or they can find your fine arts from there?
Yeah, everything's on there.
Instagram?
Just Nick Carver. Nick Carver. Yeah.
Nick Carver.
Okay. I don't know my own handles.
You want to look it up on your
probably should.
Your ID first? Nicholas Carver just got 1,600 new followers.
Well, funny enough, there's a Nick Carver band, which you'll probably come across if you Google my name. There's actually another Nick Carver that was in Irvine for some time.
Son of a bitch. Who is he?
He worked at Blizzard Entertainment.
Okay,
yeah, he was an artist at Blizzard. So someone called my parents' house once looking for him.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Odd. There was 2 Nick Carvers in Irvine for a time.
Is he out of town? Is he left?
I'm guessing he left because I haven't heard.
Good. This town can't handle 2.
Town ain't big enough for 2 Nick Carvers.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Barely handle the one we got in front of me right here. Well, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
You're doing great. I hope your self-esteem skyrockets the next time I see you.
You certainly help.
And you're walking around like Drake or something.
I'll never be that confident.
You never know. I appreciate your time. You keep making great pictures.
Thanks so much. Thanks a lot for having me.
Anytime. Thanks.
All right.
This is Matt Brown, and you listen to Just a Good Conversation. Please hit the subscribe button as well as the like button. You can always follow us on Instagram and Twitter, as well as the website, justagoodconversation.com. Thank you for listening.